Chapter 865. Duel in the Arena 3. Little girl, you and Long Hua will decide life and death in the arena. Long Shaoqing turned to Long Ruoxue and said, Ancestor, this is unfair to me. I was injured. Long Hua protested before Long Ruoxue could speak. Shut up. Long Shaoqing roared angrily. Hee. It seems that Long Hua doesn't agree. Coincidentally, I don't agree either. Long Ruoxue chuckled. She could have killed Long Hua now. So why did she have to wait until the arena? Little girl, I've already said that you can't kill anyone from the Long family unless it's in the life and death ring. Long Shaoqing reminded her. All right. However, I request these old things to go to the arena too. Long Ruoxue pointed at the old men who had helped Long Hua just now. When Changwu was injured, everyone's battle was interrupted. Now, Fengde and the others were holding in their anger. If they didn't let them release it, they would suffocate. All right, there are exactly 5 of them. Send 5 of them to accept the challenge. Long Xiaoyu said decisively. Does life and death matter in an arena battle? Long Ruoxue asked uncertainly. Of course. In the arena, life and death are up to fate. Long Xiaoyu nodded. He was still very confident in the strength of little Schwerer and the others. Otherwise, he wouldn't have suggested such a method. After all, the 2 sides who had conflicts with each other would decide life and death in the arena. Even if Long Hua and the others died, at least his big brother wouldn't say anything. This was also well known in the Long family. All right, I don't want to waste time. Let's start now. Long Ruoxue said without hesitation. Go to the martial arts arena, Long Shaoqing ordered. It was no longer important who was right or wrong because he knew that the girl would never let Long Hua off. However, this method would at least make him look better. Ancestor, Long Hua begged, clearly not wanting to fight in the arena. Long Yu, take him away. No one in the Long family can back down. Long Shaoqing glared at Long Yu and instructed. Yes, Ancestor. Long Yu and the others looked at Long Hua sympathetically before escorting the unwilling Long Hua to the martial arts arena. A moment later, Long Ruoxue and the others arrived at the Long family's martial arts arena under Long Xiaoqing's lead. Not long after, when Sun arrived. Little girl, choose 5 of your subordinates to fight. Long Shaoqing looked at Long Ruoxue and said, Okay. Long Ruoxue nodded. Miss, Long Hua and I haven't won yet. Changwu reminded her. Miss, we don't either, Fengde and the others hurriedly said. Monster, Changwu, Fengde, and Songdi, the 5 of us will go to the arena. The others will watch the battle, Long Ruoxue said after some thought. Long Qinya had sent her a voice transmission just now and told her about the strength of those old men. That was why she made such an arrangement. After all, this was a life and death battle. Those old men might go all out. Okay, they nodded. In the first round of the arena battle, the freak was the first to appear. His opponent was called Long Quan. According to Long Qinya, he was the strongest among the 5 of them. After Long Ruoxue whispered a few words to the freak, he strode into the arena. Kid, if you admit defeat, I won't kill you. Otherwise, if your beautiful face is ruined, no woman will like you in the future. In the arena, Long Quan reminded him kindly. Old man, you're mistaken. I'm a capable person, not like you who needs to rely on your looks. The freak chuckled, clearly implying that Long Quan was a gigolo. As soon as the freak finished speaking, Fengde and the others could not help but burst into laughter. Even though the Long family members who came to watch the battle did not dare to laugh as exaggeratedly as Fengde and the others, they all lowered their heads and chuckled. Kid, you have to rely on your strength to speak in the arena. Just talking won't save you. Long Quan said angrily. Old man, I rely on my strength. Take this. Before the freak finished speaking, several strands of black, profound energy had already been released from his hand. The black mystic energy released by the freak danced in the air like lightning. Moreover, it was extremely fast. Before Long Quan could react, it had already wrapped around his body. Immediately after, the freak's body shot out like a meteor. In an instant, everyone below the stage saw countless shadows dancing in front of their eyes. The afterimages connected and drew beautiful arcs. In just a few minutes, The cold spring in the arena was badly mutilated. The cries of pain in the arena and the cries of surprise below the stage joined together. After a loud bang, Long Quan fell flat on the stage, lifeless. It had only been a few minutes, but Long Quan had died without being able to fight back at all. This could not help but make everyone's jaws drop. At the same time, the image of a monster's violence was even more deeply rooted in their hearts. Immediately after, Feng De went on stage. However, after his opponent witnessed the violence of the freak, he was afraid before the battle even began. Therefore, Feng De took care of his opponent effortlessly. Then, he walked down the arena in high spirits. The third person to go on stage was Song Di. He also quickly finished off his opponent. Then, it was Cheng Wu's turn. Cheng Wu sneered and looked at Long Hua, who was standing opposite him, with disdain. Long Hua, you ambushed me just now. Now I want to pay you back double. After Cheng Wu finished speaking, he directly attacked. Help. Long Hua limped frantically on the arena and dodged Cheng Wu's attacks. Unfortunately, he could not dodge them at all. Long Hua, are you still a member of the Long family? You've embarrassed the Long family. Cheng Wu roared in disappointment, and his words voiced the thoughts of many members of the Long family. I don't want to die, Long Hua said weakly. You realized it too late. Cheng Wu rushed to Long Hua's side and picked him up like a chicken. Then, he beat him up. After getting tired of beating him up, a fatal mystic technique directly blasted onto Long Hua's body, ending his life. Chapter 866, Duel in the Arena, 4. After the battle ended, Cheng Wu jumped off the arena and sat back beside Long Ruoxue and the others. Long Ruoxue was the last to appear. She first looked around at the Long family members in the arena and took in their expressions. Then, she walked briskly to the arena. After a long wait, her opponent dawdled into the ring. Long Ruoxue, can I admit defeat? Long Ruoxue's opponent said. The few people before him were all dead, so he was a little afraid. Admit defeat? Old man, I've already said that whoever helps Long Hua is my enemy. It originally had nothing to do with you, but you insisted on standing up for him. In that case, fight bravely. Don't make me look down on you. Long Ruoxue said mockingly. She had long reminded him that the bird that sticks out gets shot. Now that he had stood up, he wanted to shrink back. How could there be such a good thing? That's right, old man. This is an arena duel proposed by your ancestor. Do you think it's a fight between children? Feng De echoed loudly. Old ancestor. That person looked at Long Shaoqing for help. Let's start quickly, Long Shaoqing said without any emotion. She really didn't expect her descendants to be so disappointing. Even if they couldn't win, they should at least die with some backbone. Now, not only did the arena battle not save her face, but it also made her look even worse. Sigh. She felt so stifled in her heart. Did you hear what your old ancestors say? Take this. Long Ruoxue chuckled. The mystic technique in her hand condensed into a dazzling fire dragon that entangled her opponent. However, she had clearly overestimated her opponent's strength. She originally thought that her opponent could last for a while, but she did not expect her opponent to be evaporated by her fire dragon in just a few seconds. This made her feel a sense of accomplishment. Well, when did mystic supremacy become so weak? In fact, it was not that Xianzun had become weaker, but that she had become stronger. Ever since her heaven-defying skill advanced, her intrinsic flame had also evolved. Therefore, no matter how hard the mystic supremacy's body was, it could not withstand the high temperature of her flames. In just a few breaths, Long Ruoxue had eliminated her opponent. This made the Long family members watching the battle tremble in fear. Damn, this little demon seemed to have become stronger. One had to know that the opponent was a mystic supremacy. He evaporated in the blink of an eye. How could they not be afraid? Second brother, your descendant is not bad. Long Shaoqing stood up and left. Second brother, I'm afraid big brother is angry. Long Xiaoxiao looked at his big brother's back and said, Sigh. After this incident, the three of them probably wouldn't be able to be as carefree as before. That can't be avoided, Long Xiaoyu said expressionlessly. Sigh. He couldn't let little Schwer suffer. Besides, little Schwer wouldn't listen to him. With that, Long Xiaoyu glanced at Long Ruoxue, who was walking down from the arena, and left the martial arts arena. Long Ruoxue and the others left the arena and returned to the Snowfall Garden. It wasn't long before Long Shuang arrived. Elder sister, are you here to chase us out of the Long family? Long Ruoxue teased with a smile. Sister, why would I do that? However, the Long family is so afraid of you. Long Shuang said helplessly. Sister, if people don't offend me, I won't offend them. If people offend me, they'll repay them 1,000 times over. Long Ruoxue said calmly. They'll warn the clan. Long Shuang promised. That's good. Sister, since the matter with Long Hua has been resolved, we'll take our leave, Long Ruoxue said bluntly. Sister, since you're here, why don't you stay a few more days? Long asked reluctantly. Elder sister, I'm the most unpopular person in the Long family now. I know my limits, so it's better to leave as soon as possible, Long Ruoxue said jokingly. Sister, since you've made up your mind, I won't stop you. Take care, Long said helplessly. Okay, elder sister, take care too, Long Ruoxue said, and left Proud Cold City with everyone. Miss, are we going to the Dark Night Seas now? Lu Tao asked expectantly after leaving Proud Cold City.
Yes.
Long Ruoxue nodded. Then, she summoned the little peacock and carried everyone to the Dark Night Seas. More than half a month later, after a long journey, Long Ruoxue and the others finally arrived at the vast plain. Girl, this should be the entrance to the Dark Night Seas. After checking the map, the little old man pointed at a narrow path. The trail led into the depths of the vast plain and stretched as far as the eye could see. Furthermore, as far as the eye could see, there was nothing but gray mist. However, there was no poison in this mist. Okay, let's go in. Everyone, be careful and don't be too far away, Long Ruoxue reminded. Then, she took out the elementary detoxification pill worriedly and let everyone eat one to take precautions. Yes, everyone nodded. After which, Long Ruoxue and the others walked into the legendary Dark Night Seas that was extremely dangerous and mysterious. Chapter 867, Dark Night Seas 1. The Dark Night Seas was the most mysterious and dangerous place on the boundless heaven continent. After walking along the misty path, they saw a blood sun hanging high in the sky above the Dark Night Seas. The entire Dark Night Seas was black, but the spiritual energy inside was very abundant. The vegetation was lush, which showed that this place was extremely suitable for the growth of plants. It's still daylight outside, miss, but it's dark in here. It's so strange, said Leto, looking puzzled at the dark night sky. This place doesn't differentiate between day and night. It's like this all year round. Moreover, even though this place is called the Dark Night Seas, it's not the sea. It's made up of mountains and forests. Long Ruoxue chuckled. Then, she bent down to pick up a herb and put it into her bracelet. Miss, there are herbs there too. Lu Tao saw that there were herbs growing under a tree vine and quickly ran over. She was about to pick them when Long Ruoxue stopped her. Be careful, Long Ruoxue warned. Then, a fiery red mystic energy was released from her fingertips. Lu Tao was shocked, but then she saw that the vines behind her were burned to ashes. The parts that had not been burned were trembling and even letting out cries. Miss, what is this? Lu Tao covered her chest with her hand and said in shock. It was really terrifying. The tree vines were actually bleeding red juice. That's a blood-sucking vine. It's best at disguise and likes to suck blood. Oh, it's also a low-level plant-type beast. However, its intelligence isn't high and it only acts on instinct, Long Ruoxue explained. Don't act alone here. Don't be too far away from each other in case you don't have time to take care of each other. Be careful when collecting herbs and minerals, Long Ruoxue added. Yes, said Lu Tao and the others quickly. After that, Long Ruoxue and the others continued deeper. The deeper they went, the more varieties of herbs there were. Moreover, they found many ores, some of which were relatively precious. The little old man was overjoyed and kept shouting that he had not come in vain. Everyone, Set up camp here today. Lung Ruoxue instructed after walking for a while and arriving at a relatively flat area. Yes, Fengda and the others replied. Then, they quickly set up the tent. After setting up the tent, they started cooking again. They had just finished preparing the food when an uninvited guest arrived. How fragrant! Suddenly, a deep male voice sounded in everyone's ears. Lung Ruoxue and the others looked up warily at the young man who suddenly appeared in front of them. No one spoke first. Sorry, I was rude. The young man smiled in embarrassment and sat down beside Lung Ruoxue and the others. Who are you? Lung Ruoxue asked softly, her beautiful eyes constantly sizing up the man in front of her. The man in front of her was in his 20s. He was handsome and his clothes were a little messy. He looked weak and seemed to have no strength. However, Lung Ruoxue knew that this man was definitely not what he looked like. He was probably in some kind of disguise. However, looking at this man's clothes, he did not look like someone from the boundless heaven continent. Enrich, I got separated from my family. Can I accompany you? I can pay, the man said in embarrassment. Ren? Lung Ruoxue recalled carefully, but she could not remember the Ren family on the boundless heaven continent. That's right. Our Ren family is the #1 family in the Cloudwind continent, so if I travel with you, I will definitely treat you well. Renxian said very sincerely. Cloudwind continent? Lung Ruoxue and the others looked at each other when they heard this name. They were even more surprised, but no one showed it. Why did you get separated from your family? Lung Ruoxue temporarily put down the doubts in her heart and pretended to be curious. After all, she knew that there was more than one continent in this world, but she didn't expect to meet someone from another continent in the dark night seas. I'm ashamed to say this, but actually, I was framed by my family and deliberately dumped by them, Renxian said with some shame. Right now, our Ren family is at a critical moment in choosing our young master. If there's one less person, there will be one less person to compete with. Therefore, I was deliberately abandoned by them. Renxian added, What's your strength? Lung Ruoxue asked bluntly. She knew that this man must have hidden his strength. Otherwise, how could a person who had been dumped by his family members only have slightly wrinkled clothes but survive in the dark night seas unscathed? After all, this place was filled with danger. I'm a mystic supremacy. However, there are many mystic monarch among the Ren family members who came to the dark night seas this time, and am also here as an elite of the family with the strength of a mystic monarch. Therefore, you have to keep it a secret for me. Renxian blinked and said with a light smile. In fact, he was not interested in the young master. However, some people in the family did not believe him and even used such a clumsy method to scheme against him. Sigh. He really had nothing to say. Don't worry, we're not talkative people. Since you're behind, you can go with us for the time being, Lung Ruoxue said kindly. Hee. Thank you. It's dangerous here. It's really dangerous to be alone. Renxian heaved a sigh of relief. You haven't eaten anything yet? Lung Ruoxue handed over a piece of roasted meat. Yes, thank you, Renxian said a little embarrassedly. Then, he started eating in big mouthfuls. Oh, compared to these people in front of him, he seemed to be in a sorry state. Fengda, Chengwu, you two keep watch today. Lung Ruoxue instructed after dinner. I'll keep watch tonight. Renxian volunteered. No need, you should rest well. Lung Ruoxue said considerately. In fact, she was not at ease letting a stranger keep watch. Even though she had just let Qingju read Renxian's mind and knew that what this man said to them was true, she still could not trust a stranger. Chapter 868, Dark Night Seas, 1. Then I want stand on ceremony, Renxian said with a smile. Then, he set up a tent and went in. After Lung Ruoxue and the freak entered the tent, they entered the bracelet directly. In the purple bamboo house, the freak hugged Schwer tightly and asked jealously, Schwer, why are we bringing strangers? I'm curious. Don't you find it strange? We actually met someone from another continent here. Lung Ruoxue raised her eyebrows and said lightly, Oh, She knew that this jealous lover was letting her imagination run wild again. Oh, then why don't we let him keep watch? We have to let him do some work. The freak pouted, slightly disgruntled. To put it bluntly, he was jealous. Don't worry, we'll let a stranger keep watch for us. Long Ruoxue asked. Of course I'm worried, Freak said honestly. That's it. Go to sleep. I've already asked Qingju to monitor the area within 100 miles. Long Ruoxue coaxed. Yes, Freak agreed, and they fell asleep in each other's arms. The next morning, when Long Ruoxue and the Freak left the tent, they saw that everyone had already started cooking breakfast, and Ren Xian was actually helping. Good morning. Ren Xian greeted them warmly when he saw them. Good morning, Long Ruoxue replied politely, then pulled the Freak over to help. After Long Ruoxue and the others finished breakfast, they set off. Ren Xian, have you met anyone else in the Dark Night Seas? Long Ruoxue chatted with Ren Xian as they walked. Other than our Ren family, you're the only ones I've met. Ren Xian replied. The Dark Night Seas is very big. It's very difficult to meet someone here, Ren Xian added. Why did your family choose the Dark Night Seas as a place to train? Isn't this place very dangerous? Long Ruoxue asked in confusion. It's very dangerous, but those who can survive the danger are definitely promising talents for the family. Moreover, the family has many descendants and has always chosen the best among the best. Therefore, it's normal to eliminate some inferior products. Well, I'm a defective product that's going to be eliminated. Ren Xian said self-deprecatingly. Are you sure you're defective? Long Ruoxue blinked and asked calmly. That's right. I've been weak and sickly since I was young. I don't know how I cultivated to the mystic supremacy realm, Ren Xian said with a puzzled expression. Oh. Long Ruoxue was speechless. If she didn't know that Ren Xian was telling the truth, she would really suspect that Ren Xian was showing off. However, every family had its own difficulties. Ren Xian didn't seem to be in a good situation in the family. Will the other families on the Cloudwind continent also come here to train? Long Ruoxue changed the topic. Other than super families like the Ren family, there aren't many who dare to come to the Netherworld Sea to train. However, all the descendants of the families who know that they are coming to the Dark Night Seas to train are prepared to die. Ren Xian replied. As long as they can return alive, they will be put in an important position, Long Ruoxue said with some understanding. More or less. The young master of the family will basically choose from the surviving descendants. Ren Xian nodded. I don't care if it's young master or not. I just want to return alive, Ren Xian said. You'll go back alive, Long Ruoxue said with certainty. I hope so. However, I have to stay here for 3 months. Sigh. Ren Xian sighed and said helplessly. 3 months? Why? Long Ruoxue was puzzled. This is the rule of the Dark Night Seas. As long as you enter here, you have to stay here for 3 months. Otherwise, you won't be able to find the way out. Ren Xian explained. Don't tell me you don't know? Ren Xian couldn't help but ask when he saw the confusion on Long Ruoxue and the others' faces. We really don't know. Long Ruoxue and the others looked at each other with helplessness on their faces. Sigh. How could there be such a rule in the Dark Night Seas? They were all rookies who came for the first time and had never heard of this. The Dark Night Seas is very mysterious. No one knows what they will encounter inside. Anyone who has come here and left alive was already 3 months later when they left. However, ordinary big families should know about such rapid breathing. Didn't anyone tell you? Ren Xian said in disbelief. Any big family would tell their descendants some precautions when they came to the Dark Night Seas to train. Therefore, it was difficult for him to imagine that Long Ruoxue and the others didn't know about these things. We don't have a family clan, Long Ruoxue said with a light smile. I see. Ren Xian understood. However, he admired Long Ruoxue and the others for coming here without knowing anything. We know it's dangerous here, but danger is often accompanied by opportunity. Apart from courage, luck is also important. We came here to try our luck, Long Ruoxue explained lightly. Yes, that makes sense. It's precisely because this place is very dangerous that the opportunities are greater. Oh, I saw that you guys have collected a lot of herbs and minerals along the way. Could it be that there are alchemists and artifact masters among you? Rinxian guessed curiously.
Yes.
Long Ruoxue nodded. Hee. When I was alone, I found a place with a lot of herbs. Let me bring you there. Rinxian said excitedly. With an alchemist, it would be much easier to live in the dark night seas for 3 months. Well, his luck was really good. Okay. Long Ruoxue nodded. Follow me. With that, Rinxian led the way. Not long after, he brought Long Ruoxue and the others to a small mountain half the height of a person. Even though the hill was not tall, the top and bottom of the hill were filled with herbs. Even though there were not many precious herbs, they still needed ordinary herbs very much. Wow, there are so many herbs here. Zheng Yin's eyes lit up. As an alchemist, he naturally loved herbs the most. After saying that, Zheng Yin ran straight to the small mountain and quickly gathered the herbs with both hands. Chapter 869. Dark Night Seas 3. Everyone, attack together. Long Ruoxue ordered, and Fengda and the others started moving. At the side, Rinxian looked at their well-trained movements and could not help but click his tongue. Oh, these people were really fast. About 2 hours later, they finally finished gathering the herbs on the mountain and at the foot of the mountain. Hee. I've really gained a lot from this trip. Rinxian, thank you. This is a pill I refined myself. I'll give it to you as a thank you. Zheng Yin took out a white jade porcelain bottle and handed it to Rinxian. It could be seen that he was really happy, and the corners of his mouth were constantly curled up. No, thank you. Then I won't stand on ceremony. Rinxian wanted to say that there was no need, but when he opened the porcelain bottle and saw the medicinal pill inside, he couldn't refuse. This was because it actually contained a heaven-grade pill, the spirit convergence pill. Even though the spirit convergence pill only had the effect of replenishing spiritual energy and might not be of much use usually, it was very useful at critical moments. Moreover, this was a heaven-level medicinal pill. It was definitely priceless. However, he was more interested in the person who could refine the spirit convergence pill. He did not expect this inconspicuous man to be an alchemist grandmaster. This really surprised him. One had to know that an alchemist grandmaster was not a cabbage, and it was even more difficult to befriend a grandmaster alchemist. Hee. No wonder his master said that he was very lucky. Now it seemed that it was true. However, he was so lucky that no one would be jealous. If a random companion could find a grandmaster alchemist, no one would believe him. Of course, he would not be stupid enough to tell anyone. However, after knowing that Zheng Yan was a grandmaster alchemist, the way he looked at Long Ruoxue and the others immediately changed. Don't look at us like that, or you'll regret it, Long Ruoxue warned. Hee. I'm just a little excited. My luck is a little too good. Rinxian said excitedly. You're excited in 3 months. It's a little early. Long Ruoxue poured cold water on him. That's true. Rinxian calmed down, but his fiery eyes still drifted to Zheng Yin from time to time. Don't look at me like that. I'm not interested in men. Zheng Yin's hair stood on end from Rinxian's gaze, and he hurriedly said, I'm not interested in men either. I'm just interested in alchemists, Rinxian said honestly. Then don't look at me with that disgusting gaze. Otherwise, they'll beat you up. Zhang clenched his fists and warned. You're so violent. Rinxian shrank his head and lowered it, not daring to look at Zheng Yin again. Boo-hoo. The situation was pressing, so he had to lower his head. Who asked him to be alone? Everyone is a little tired today. Let's camp here. We'll walk in tomorrow. Long Ruoxue calmly looked at Rinxian, who looked aggrieved, and said with a light smile, Okay. Everyone nodded and got to work. 3 days later, Long Ruoxue and the others walked almost a quarter of the way in the dark night seas, and the herbs and minerals they passed naturally fell into their pockets. Miss, this place is really big. If we really have to stay here for 3 months, I think we have to find a fixed place to camp, Chengwu suggested. Yes, let's find a suitable place while walking. After all, there are still many places we haven't been to. Long Ruoxue thought for a moment and said, Yeah. They all nodded. Suddenly, there was a rustling in the woods where they were. What's that noise? Peach asked fearfully. Why did it sound so pathetic? Lu Tao, don't be afraid. They'll protect you. Feng De quickly comforted her. At the same time, everyone rolled their eyes at him. Rustle, rustle. The sound grew louder and reached their ears from all directions, accompanied by a fishy smell. Everyone, be careful. Lung Ruoxue thought for a moment and held the cold shadow in her hand. She already knew what this sound was coming from. As soon as Lung Ruoxue finished speaking, a black shadow as fast as lightning suddenly pounced at her. The cold shadow in her hand turned and directly split the black shadow into two. Then, everyone saw a black snake as thick as an arm lying on the ground, its broken body still twisting. More than that, in an instant, more snakes surged toward them from all directions. They were now standing in a small copse of trees. So many of the snakes were poking their heads out of the branches, staring at them with dark eyes like prey. Damn it! Where did so many snakes come from? Renxian said with his scalp tingling. He hated snakes the most. They looked strangely disgusting. Hee, delicious humans. At this moment, the snakes made way for a golden python that crawled out slowly. It was not difficult to tell that it was the king of these snakes. Oh, a delicious snake. Lung Ruoxue looked at the golden python as if she was looking at a prey. The golden python was huge, almost 100 meters long and about 10 meters thick. The scales on its body were as transparent as golden crystal, and there were complicated dark patterns on them. In short, it was a rather beautiful snake. I can't eat humans. The golden python was furious when it heard Lung Ruoxue's words. You're just a small snake. What's there to not eat? Lung Ruoxue asked with a faint smile. Little snake? How am I small? Open your eyes and take a good look. Am I small? The golden python roared. Oh, it doesn't look small, and it's quite fat. There's also quite a lot of meat, enough for us to eat, Lung Ruoxue said with a smile. Damn it, human. I told you I can't eat it. The golden python snarled, his temper flaring. He was clearly furious. Calm down. In my eyes, you can eat it. Moreover, it should taste good. Lung Ruoxue smiled. Well. This snake was a level 9 transcendent divine beast. She had never eaten such a high-level snake before. Damn it, I can't eat it. The golden python's anger surged. Then, it directly ordered its subordinates, go, except for this woman. Everything else is yours. Chapter 870, Dark Night Seas, 4. The reward that it mentioned meant that its underlings could eat it. Therefore, when the snakes heard its words, they were all rather excited. However, they were soon not happy. Let's not stand on ceremony. Other than this golden one, we don't care about anything else, Lung Ruoxue instructed. Then, with a slight twist of her wrist, the cold shadow in her hand emitted a terrifying sword light. At the same time, along with her meteor shower, thousands of sharp sword lights emitting cold air attacked the snakes present. In an instant, countless snakes died. Lung Ruoxue's attack stunned all the snakes. However, when they reacted, they were all killed by Feng De and the others. In an instant, the golden python and Renxian were stunned. This was because none of them expected Lung Ruoxue and the others to attack so quickly and ruthlessly. They were even merciless. In the blink of an eye, the golden python became a lone commander. How does a delicious snake feel? Lung Ruoxue asked with a naughty smile. Air, air, air. I can't eat that, whispered the golden python, wincing. At this moment, it was simply two extremes compared to the Snake King who was showing off just now. If Lung Ruoxue wasn't very sure that this golden python was still the one just now, she would probably think that it had been switched. You're a level 9 transcendent divine beast. The meat is definitely more delicious than other snakes, Lung Ruoxue said with certainty. Usually, the higher the level of the beast, the more delicious the meat. However, very few people dared to eat a level 9 transcendent divine beast. The reason why she didn't eat it was that divine beasts could transform into humans, so she couldn't eat it. My meat is smelly and doesn't taste good. Really? Don't eat me. Boo-hoo. The golden python begged. As it spoke, fist-sized tears kept rolling down its huge snake eyes. Don't pretend to be pitiful. You're the king of those snakes and a level 9 transcendent divine beast. Is that all you have? Lung Ruashue was a little speechless. She still liked the snake that was a little arrogant just now. At least, she would feel a sense of accomplishment if she beat it up, but this one, she wasn't even interested in beating it up. Yes, I'm very timid. Other than scaring those snakes, I don't dare to bully others. Boo-hoo. Let me go. The golden python's eyes were filled with tears as it begged pitifully. Boo-hoo. These humans clearly didn't look very strong, but it didn't expect them to be so tough. If it had known earlier, it wouldn't have found trouble with these guys even if it was beaten to death. However, it seemed to be too late now. Its life. It still didn't know if it could keep its life. Let you go just because you say so? How embarrassing would that be for me? Lung Ruashue rolled her eyes at the golden python. Well, it could only be considered unlucky since it dared to find trouble for her. I have many treasures. I'll give them all to you. Let me go. The golden python begged pitifully. In front of these ruthless humans, it didn't dare to move, let alone have any other thoughts. These people were really too scary. Boo-hoo. Oh, take it out and take a look. If you satisfy me, I can let you go, Lung Ruashue said with a smile, even though she didn't think that a snake would have anything she liked. It's all in my hole, the golden python said honestly. Where's your hole? Lung Ruashue asked calmly. Not far from here. Do you want to come with me? The golden python asked cautiously. Of course, if I don't go with you. Where can I find you if you run away? Lung Ruashue said matter-of-factly. Even though it was said that a strong dragon could not suppress a local snake, this snake was obviously a native of the Dark Night Seas, so she naturally wouldn't let it go. She was still counting on this snake to be their guide, in case they got lost here. Then come with me, the golden python said like a little wife. Lead the way, Lung Ruashue ordered. Yes. The golden python did not dare to resist at all. Even though it was a level 9 transcendent divine beast, it was born timid. Therefore, under Lung Ruakshu's strength, it did not dare to resist at all. Moreover, Lung Ruashue had killed so many snakes just now, which made it feel fear. How could it dare to disobey? After all, its life was still in the hands of this terrifying woman. The golden python transformed into a small snake and crawled on the ground. Lung Ruashue and the others followed closely behind it. Not long after, they followed it to a cave. This cave was not big, and the mountain was only half the height of a person. Moreover, in the Dark Night Seas, there seemed to be many hills of this size. Don't play tricks, Lung Ruashue warned. I wouldn't dare. The golden snake whined. Boo-hoo. It was a cowardly snake. Why didn't these people believe it? Then, Lung Ruashue and the others followed the golden snake into the cave. They made several turns and finally arrived at the snake's nest. How did a snake like you get so many things? Lung Ruashue looked at the items that almost filled the entire cave and couldn't help but ask. Chapter 871. Retribution 1. The items in front of him were piled up like a small mountain. There were all kinds of things. In addition to herbs and ores, there were actually human weapons. Hee, it's just a robbery. The little golden snake smiled shyly. Didn't anyone realize that you're just a strong-looking but useless guy? Lung Ruashue couldn't help teasing. Woo, you're the ones who are too perverted, okay? The golden snake muttered aggrievedly, tears still flickering in its eyes. Damn it, how are we perverted? Fengda roared unhappily when he heard this. The golden snake coiled itself into a ring in fear and buried its head, not daring to look at Fengda and the others. Boo-hoo. These people were so scary. When would they leave this place? Thinking of this, it couldn't help but pray to the heavens. Hurry up and let these terrifying humans leave this place. Renxian agreed with the little golden snake's words. Boo-hoo. This little snake was right. These people were indeed abnormal. He was a mystic supremacy after all. However, he had no chance to attack in front of them. Boo-hoo. This hurt his pride too much. Little snake, are you sure you want to give us all these things? Lung Ruoxue asked with a faint smile. Yes, I'll give it all to you. As long as you're willing to let me go, the golden snake said quickly, revealing a small head. But most of your things here are useless to me. Lung Ruoxue deliberately sighed and said regretfully, Woo! Then what will it take for you to let me go? The golden snake asked pitifully, its eyes filled with pleading. Tell me first, do I have to stay in the dark night seas for 3 months? Otherwise, I won't be able to get out? Lung Ruoxue asked calmly. Well, she had to confirm this. I think so. I'm not really sure. The golden snake was honest. Aren't you a beast from the dark night seas? How can you not know? Lung Ruoxue glared and questioned unhappily. Wu, you said I was a beast too. How could I know? The little golden snake cried. It was just a snake that liked to eat and sleep. It had been here since it was born, so naturally, it didn't know how long it would have to stay here before it could leave, because it never wanted to leave. Sigh. Since you don't know, forget it. I can't force you, Lung Ruoxue said helplessly. Hee, that's great. You're willing to let me go, the golden snake said happily, but it was obvious that it had misunderstood. When did I say I was going to let you go? Lung Ruoxue smiled evilly. What do you mean? The golden snake's eyes widened in disbelief. No wonder the beasts here said humans were cunning. Boo-hoo. Humans were so bad. You haven't satisfied me yet? You can't answer the questions I ask, Lung Ruoxue said with slight disappointment. Woo. Then what do you want? As long as you don't eat me, you can do whatever you want. The golden snake lowered its head in grievance. It's very simple. Be our guide, and we'll let you go after we leave the dark night seas. How about that? Lung Ruoxue said with a smile. Even though Lung Ruoxue was asking for the golden snake's opinion, the little snake knew very well that if it didn't agree, it would definitely become a dead snake in the next moment. Boo-hoo. The situation was very disadvantageous to it. I promise. Those who knew what they were doing were wise, and the golden snake was certainly no exception. That's a good snake. I only want herbs and ores here. I'm not interested in anything else. Take us to find more herbs and ores. When we leave this place, we won't treat you badly. Lung Ruoxue said, using the carrot and stick approach. She still needed this guide very much after all. Moreover, with the level 9 Transcendent Divine Beast in the Dark Night Seas, she believed that the Transcendent Divine Beasts below level 9 wouldn't dare to disturb them. Okay, nodded the golden snake. Let's head out. Lung Ruoxue put all the herbs and ores in the cave into the bracelet and said. Everyone nodded and left the cave the way they had come. After leaving the cave, they followed the guidance of the golden snake and found a spacious and flat place to be their temporary camp. According to the snake, this place had a good view and could be the first to discover danger. Everyone set up their tents and started to make a fire to cook. Naturally, they ate snake meat. The golden snake lying nearby smelled the fragrance of the snake meat and felt extremely depressed. Boo-hoo. Those were its subordinates. Now they had become food for these humans. It regretted finding these perverted humans. After the snake meat was roasted, everyone ate heartily. At the same time, Lung Ruoxue and the others let the beasts out to enjoy the delicious snake meat. They also asked the golden snake, but the snake told them that it was vegetarian. However, seeing the obvious disbelief in their eyes, the golden snake lowered its head and looked away from them. This snake says it's a vegetarian, miss. Is that possible? She asked curiously as she ate and stared at the little golden snake. How is that possible? In the beginning, it even said that we were delicious humans. Lung Ruoxue said with a faint smile. Hee. She didn't expect the snake in front of her to have a conscience and was unwilling to eat its own kind. This was quite rare for beasts. Yes, but what if it doesn't eat? If it starved to death, we wouldn't have a guide, said Peachy worriedly. Send this to it. I don't mistreat employees. Lung Ruoxue took out a rabbit from her bracelet and handed it to Lu Tao.
Yes.
Lu Tao took the rabbit and roasted it over the fire for a while. Then, she walked to the golden snake and placed the rabbit meat in front of it before returning to Long Ruoxue and the others' seats. The golden snake looked up at Long Ruoxue and the others, then at the roasted rabbit in front of it. It took a deep breath and finally couldn't resist the temptation of food and ate the rabbit. Chapter 872. Retribution 2. Smells good. At this moment, a voice suddenly sounded in Long Ruoxue and the others' ears. When everyone heard this voice, they all looked at Ren Xian at the same time. "Why are you looking at me?" Ren Xian asked awkwardly. "Another person like you," Feng De teased. They're different from me." Ren Xian felt wronged. He was alone, okay? However, from the sound of the footsteps, it was obvious that there was more than one person. As soon as Ren Xian finished speaking, the person who spoke had already arrived in front of Long Ruoxue and the others. His eyes were fixed on the snake, meat roasting on their fire as he asked, "This meat smells so good. Can you sell us some?" Feng De raised his eyelids slightly and looked at the man who spoke. He said calmly, "There are so many of you. Don't tell me you can't even get some food. We're too tired to hunt." Before the man could say anything, a young woman interrupted. Then, she ran in front of Long Ruoxue and the others and kept winking at Feng De. Oh, it seemed that the person who spoke was their leader. The woman guessed self-righteously. Moreover, she felt that with her outstanding looks, she could definitely get food from these people. "Miss, your reason is really..." Feng De smiled helplessly, not knowing what to say. "Wonderful. You'll have pity on us," the woman said narcissistically. "It sucks." Cheng Wu interrupted. "That's right. Just admit that you failed at hunting. Why are you still saying that it's too tiring? What does it have to do with us if you're tired? Besides, if your stamina can't keep up here, you'll drag others down." Lin Yuan sneered. "Damn it, what did you say? I'm talking to your leader. It's not your place to speak." The woman retorted unhappily. How did you know I was their captain?" Feng De was very puzzled. This woman didn't look like such a discerning person. I can tell from the clothes you're wearing. Look at what you're wearing. Look at them." The woman's beautiful face was filled with disdain for Lin Yuan and the others. Ugh. Feng De was speechless. He knew it. How could this woman have good taste? It turned out that she was another person who judged people by their appearance. Sigh. Actually, the clothes on his body were the worst. If he hadn't been afraid of dirtying his clothes while cooking, he wouldn't have changed into this. Now, he had been misunderstood and even treated as his head. What was going on? Can you give us some food?" The woman pretended to be shy and asked. Her eyes were watery and charming. "No." Feng De rolled his eyes and said in a neutral tone, "Why? I'm the #1 beauty in the Royal Dragon Continent." The woman's eyes widened in disbelief. She was so surprised. She had never dreamed that a peerless beauty like her would be rejected by a man. So what? Feng De asked in disdain. This woman was really narcissistic. Didn't she see his miss? His miss was much more beautiful than this woman. So what? I'm the most beautiful woman on the Royal Dragon Continent, and now I'm asking you for a favor. What a great opportunity. Shouldn't you be coaxing me and trying to please me? The woman glared at him and said matter-of-factly. Even in her heart, she thought that she was thinking highly of him by being willing to beg Feng De. After all, it wasn't often that she gave people such opportunities to help her. Hee, you're the most arrogant woman we've ever seen. Chengwu couldn't help but laugh. Sigh. There were all kinds of birds in a big forest. This woman in front of him was really a top-notch woman. When the others heard Chengwu's words, they could not help but sneer. That's because I have the right to be arrogant. Others can't do this even if they want to. The woman said indifferently because she felt that Chengwu was praising her. Ugh. It was Chengwu's turn to be helpless. Boo-hoo. He had underestimated this woman's shamelessness. Boo-hoo. She was shameless to the core. Miss, can you please stay away from us? Otherwise, I'm afraid I'll accidentally vomit everything I just ate, Fengda said. Sigh. He had really never seen such a woman. Today was an eye-opener. How dare you do this to me? You'll regret it. The woman stomped off angrily. I'm sorry. She's been spoiled since she was a child, the man said sheepishly, his face alternating between red and white. After all, the woman's words had embarrassed him as well. I can give you guys some food, but can you promise me something? Fengda said mysteriously. What is it? The man was curious. If we give you the food, you'll immediately leave with your team. How about that? Fengda discussed. What he meant was that he would take the food and scram. Well, we've been walking a lot today, and we're really tired. How about tomorrow? We'll leave immediately tomorrow morning. How does that sound? The man bargained. Leave now. Otherwise, go hunt yourselves, Fengda said without hesitation. Cousin, why are you still talking nonsense with them? If you want to fight, then fight. Who cares about their things? When the woman heard Fengda's words, she immediately shouted unhappily. You heard me. Hurry up and hunt for yourselves. If you're late, the little animals will sleep, Fengda said with a smile. Then, he ignored the man. The man sighed in exasperation and turned back to his companions, who had set up their tents. It looked as if they planned to camp there, too. You guys should rest early after eating. Seeing that the stranger was no longer pestering her, Long Ruoxue pulled the freak up and put away the beasts before entering the tent. Once inside the tent, they went straight back to the bracelet. In the purple bamboo house, Long Ruoxue lay in the freak's arms and observed the commotion outside through Qingju. Fengda and the others were still eating, and the man had also arranged for someone to go hunting. However, the woman had started arguing with her companion again. Chapter 873, Retribution 3, Schwer. We encountered another team from the Royal Dragon Continent this time, the freak said with a chuckle.
Yes.
Long Ruoxue nodded. There were about 30 people in this team, and only one woman. The others were all around Mystic Sovereign's strength, and that woman was Mystic Monarch. I wonder if he'll encounter people from other continents here. The freak was looking forward to it. Hee. This Dark Night Seas was not simple. Since you're here, take it easy. Long Ruoxue closed her eyes. Hee. The freak chuckled and hugged Schwer to sleep. The next day, Long Ruoxue and the freak had just left the tent when they found Lu Tao confronting the arrogant woman from yesterday. Chuizhu, what happened? Long Ruoxue asked Chuizhu softly. Hee. That woman took a fancy to our breakfast. Just as she was about to use her charm to ask Fengda for it, she was seen by Lu Tao, Chuizhu said, wishing for the world to be in chaos. Is Lu Tao jealous? Long Ruoxue was very curious. No, she was bored, Chuizhu said knowingly. Oh, then let's have breakfast. Leave to Lu Tao to clean up that woman, Long Ruoxue said lightly. With that, she pulled the freak to the dining table. Okay, Chuizhu said with a smile, but her eyes kept glancing at the peach. Focus on eating, Long Ruoxue chided. Hee. Chuizhu stuck out her tongue and started eating. On Lu Tao's side, the two of them were already fighting. However, he did not see any sword flashes because Lu Tao defeated the woman in one move. Lu Tao clapped her hands again and came to the table to sit down and eat breakfast. On the other side, cousin, you have to avenge me. The woman ran to the man and wailed. Revenge for what? The man asked mildly, frowning. I was beaten up. Aren't you going to avenge me? The woman said with tears in her eyes. Boo-hoo. That woman was too ruthless. She actually slapped her in the face. How could she face anyone? Aren't you going to have a fair duel? Then what's the point of revenge? You can't expect me to hit a woman. The man suppressed the impatience on his face and spoke even more coldly. But I was the one who was beaten. She wasn't hurt. Boo-hoo, cousin. You don't love me anymore, the woman whined. Behave yourself and don't cause trouble for me. This isn't a family where you can do whatever you want, the man warned, then ignored her. Seeing that her cousin was unwilling to help her, the woman had no choice but to seek help from her admirers. Unfortunately, those people all acted according to the man's instructions. If her cousin was unwilling to avenge her, they naturally did not have the guts. "Oomph, are you still men?" Seeing that her goal could not be achieved, the woman said hatefully and ignored the people around her angrily. The farce here did not affect Long Ruoxue and the others' mood for eating. After dinner, Long Ruoxue ordered the golden snake to bring them around. However, when they left, the team had yet to leave, so Long Ruoxue pulled the freak around their tent and sprinkled some colorless transparent things. Well, she was afraid that their tent would go in and steal something. Moreover, they would return here later, so there was naturally no need to pack up the tent. "Is it all right if we leave like this, miss?" said Lu Tao worriedly on the way. "No problem. I've already arranged it." Long Ruoxue chuckled, not worried at all. The golden snake leading the way couldn't help but feel uneasy after hearing Long Ruoxue's words. It had never seen the poison this perverted woman had scattered around the tent, but it knew very well that the poison was very poisonous. Whoever touched it would be unlucky. Evening. Long Ruoxue and the others circled the vicinity and gained a lot. Then, they returned to their camp. However, as soon as they returned to their residence, the man greeted them. "Why are you still here?" Fengde asked in confusion. Were these people here to camp in the dark night seas? It seemed like they had been here for a day. "My cousin has been poisoned. Can you save her?" The man pleaded, his handsome face filled with resignation and frustration. "How did your cousin get poisoned? We couldn't save her, could we?" Lu Tao said dismissively. "She went around your tent by accident, and then she was poisoned." The man's face was a mixture of green and red. He looked embarrassed and angry. "How is that possible? Why would she come around our tent for no reason? We weren't here." Could it be that she wanted to steal something? I really couldn't tell that your cousin was that kind of person." Lu Tao exclaimed in pity. Her words made everyone laugh. "She, just accidentally, walked around your tent?" The man was clearly not confident because even he did not believe this, let alone these people in front of him. However, he could not admit that his troublesome cousin wanted to enter his tent to drug him. Sigh. This time, his family's reputation had been completely lost by his cousin. If this were to spread, outsiders would definitely think of their Xinyuan family clan. "Then she's really careless," Long Ruoxue said calmly. Xinyuan looked up at Long Ruoxue, who was speaking, and his eyes immediately revealed a stunned expression. What a beautiful woman. Why didn't he notice her yesterday? In fact, it wasn't that he didn't notice it yesterday, but Long Ruoxue had deliberately lowered her presence. In addition, it was dark at night in the dark sea, so it was normal that he didn't see Long Ruoxue. But now, he couldn't help but be shocked. His cousin's looks were like the moon and dust compared to the woman in front of him. There was no comparison. "How is she?" Long Ruoxue looked at Xinyuan with a faint smile. "She has already been punished. Can you give her the antidote?" Xinyuan begged, his eyes filled with sincerity. Chapter 874. Retribution 4. There's no antidote. We use that poison to expel poisonous insects. No one will die. However, she will definitely suffer, Long Ruoxue said calmly. "She really won't die?" Xinyuan was a little suspicious. His troublesome cousin, Xiang Ning, had been unconscious all this time. After all, they were relatives. Of course, he didn't want Xiang Ning to die here. "I guarantee on my honor that she won't die," Long Ruoxue said confidently, nearly swearing. "That's good." Xinyuan was relieved when he heard Long Ruoxue's words. Well, as long as Xiang Ning didn't die, it didn't matter. But he didn't think so for the next few days, because while it was true that his cousin wasn't dead, she might as well be. Xinyuan sat by the fire, but he kept hearing Xiang Ning's screams. This sound had been going on for several days. What's more, Xiang Ning actually showed signs of wanting to pounce on men when she saw them. Sigh. What should he do? Every time he encountered such a situation, he could only knock Xiangning unconscious to prevent her from embarrassing the Xinyuan family. How long is she going to be like this, my lady? Lu Tao asked quietly, listening to a nearby scream. I don't know, Long Ruoxue said irresponsibly. This medicine was newly refined by her. She still didn't know how effective it was. Well, it was currently being experimented on. Just like that, Long Ruoxue and the others left early and returned late every day. No matter how far they walked, they would eventually return to the camp because they still had experiments here. Because of Xiangning's poison, Xinyuan Yi and the others had never left this place. That cousin Xiangning still suffered from poison every day. In the first few days, Xiangning still had the strength to scream. However, after a few days, her throat was hoarse and she finally couldn't scream. Only then did everyone's ears finally calm down. A month later, the effects of the drug were fading from Xiangning's body, but her beauty was gone forever. Moreover, her skin had turned dark and rough, and it was covered with potholes. She had scratched herself when the drug had taken effect, and she couldn't stand the itch. When she saw how she looked now, Xiangning couldn't take it. She cried out, "Wow!" Unfortunately, no one sympathized with her. Alas, she had evil intentions and wanted to go to someone's tent for no reason. Now, she had done it. She had harmed herself instead. This was called asking for it. Woo, Xiangning cried, but there was no one around to coax her. Don't cry. It's good enough that you're still alive, Xinyuan said impatiently. His cousin always liked to cause trouble. Now, she had gotten her retribution. Let's see if she still dared to be dishonest in the future. Cousin, how can I face anyone in this state? Xiangning sobbed. Boo-hoo. Don't cry. When we return to the Royal Dragon Continent, Uncle will treat you, Xinyuan reminded.
Yes.
Xiangning immediately stopped crying after hearing Xinyuan's words. That's right. Father will try his best to rule by the law. After all, my beauty is still very useful. Father will definitely not be willing to see me like this. It's all because of those people. Thinking of this, Xiangning immediately ran to Long Ruoxue and the others and started throwing a tantrum again. It's all your fault. I won't let you off. When we return to the Royal Dragon Continent, my father will avenge me. Xiangning threatened, her eyes burning with anger. Okay, well wait, but don't blame me for not reminding you. You'll still be alive this time. If I use you as an insect to drive you away again, I can't guarantee that you'll still be alive. Long Ruoxue chuckled, and the beautiful smile on her face pierced Xiangning's face. However, when she saw Lu Tao glaring at her, she shrank back. Then, she ran back to Xinyuan and the others. After this incident, she knew that the people around her would not stand up for her. Therefore, she could only endure it. Boo-hoo. Let's pack up and leave this place. Long Ruoxue instructed. Well, since the experiment had been completed, it was time for them to change to another camping spot. After all, if they went too far now, it would be a waste of time to come back. There was nothing to wander around within a kilometer here. Yes, everyone nodded. Then, they started to pack up. Hee. They had watched a lot of fun in the past month. It was indeed time to leave. After packing up, Long Ruoxue and the others left without looking back. Young master, should we? After Long Ruoxue and the others left, a person beside Xinyuan made a throat-slitting gesture and asked softly with a fierce gaze. Can you defeat them? Xinyuan said indifferently. Their numbers and strength were above theirs, yet they still wanted to kill them. They were really brainless. That person was a little embarrassed and did not dare to say anything else. In the past month, they had found many excuses to fight with Fengda and the others. They were indeed not their match, but they were really aggrieved. This place is filled with danger, but we didn't encounter any danger here for a month. Perhaps we were lucky, or perhaps it's because there are more people in the two teams, so it's better not to make enemies here easily, in case we're alone and helpless, Xinyuan said very calmly. In fact, he really didn't blame Long Ruoxue and the others because everything was caused by that restless Xiangning. He knew this very well. Pack your things. Let's leave too. Xinyuani instructed again. Yes, his subordinates replied in unison. After packing up, Xinyuan Yi and the others also left. Chapter 875. The Mysterious Palace. 1. After Long Ruoxue and the others left, they searched for nearly 5 days in the dark night seas before finding a suitable place to set up camp. This place was almost equivalent to the center of the dark night seas. So other than them, 3 other teams also chose this place as their camp. There's a lot of people here, miss, Lu Tao whispered, looking at the other teams. Yes, the terrain here is not bad. It's normal for them to choose this place. Moreover, according to the little snake, there's almost no place suitable for a camp ahead, Long Ruoxue replied softly. She looked carefully. Including them, there were a total of 4 teams setting up camp here. However, the other 3 teams were not as strong as them, so she was really not afraid that those teams had any ulterior motives, as long as they did not take the initiative to provoke her. Even though there were many teams who had chosen this place as their camp, it was big enough. Therefore, the teams had tacitly chosen their respective areas. Naturally, there was no need to snatch other people's territory. Besides, it was not easy to see so many teams in the same place. This could be considered fate. Therefore, on the surface, most of the people were very friendly. As usual, after setting up the tent, Fengda and the others started to make a fire and cook. However, this time, they only took out meat and some raw rice. After all, there were outsiders here, so they could only make it simple. Long Ruoxue and the freak were each holding a piece of meat to roast on the fire. At this moment, a middle-aged man walked over from not far away. After coming in front of them, he smiled and said, "You guys are so fast. You guys aren't bad either." Long Ruoxue replied very politely. They were almost the same as the middle-aged man's team. Moreover, the 2 teams' camps were very close, so they could be considered neighbors. Haha, it's far inferior to your subordinates, the middle-aged man said enviously. Then, he sat down beside the 2 of them. My name is Ma Ming. I'm from the Ma family of the Cloudwind continent. Are you from the Ren family? The middle-aged man who called himself Ma Ming asked tentatively. No, Long Ruoxue said lightly. Oh, Ma Ming nodded, then stole another glance at Rain Xian, but didn't continue the conversation. I wonder what your name is, my lady, Ma Ming continued. Long Ruoxue. He's my husband, Yi Chun, Long Ruoxue introduced. Hee, greetings, Ma Ming said happily. Then, he lowered his voice and whispered to Long Ruoxue and the freak. How about we become allies for the time being? Why? Long Ruoxue asked in confusion. In such a place, there were benefits for the 2 teams to join forces, but the benefits to her were not great. I'm afraid that those 2 teams will harm us. If our 2 teams join forces, it will be much safer, Ma Ming explained. This time, as the leader, he brought his disciples to the dark night seas to train. Naturally, he didn't want anything to happen to them. In his opinion, the safest way was to find a team to join forces with. After observing, he felt that even though Long Ruoxue and the others weren't strong, there were many of them. This way, the 2 teams would definitely treat them as the core. Therefore, he took the initiative to approach Long Ruoxue. Sir Ma Ming, you're thinking too much. We don't have any grudges. How can they harm us? Long Ruoxue seemed to say very innocently, but she couldn't help but mutter in her heart. This Ma Ming clearly wanted to use them as cannon fodder, but he actually said it in such a dignified manner. However, it was better to avoid trouble, so she didn't plan to expose his thoughts. Miss Long, you're too naive. In such a place, there are many cases of people killing others for treasures. The strength of our 2 teams can't compare to the other party at all. If we're really targeted by them, we'll die. Ma Ming refused to give up. Moreover, he deliberately scared Long Ruoxue. But Brother Xian said that he will protect me. Moreover, Brother Xian also said that although those 2 teams are strong, it's not so easy to attack us. Sir Ma Ming, don't scare yourself. You have to be confident in yourself. You can definitely do it, Long Ruoxue said extremely innocently, and even encouraged Ma Ming. Long Ruoxue's words made Ma Ming cry bitterly in his heart and regret it. Sigh. Why did he find this innocent little girl who didn't know anything? How good would it be if he could just talk to Ren Xin about this? However, he was afraid that Ren Xin wouldn't be easy to fool, and this little girl seemed to be very gullible, so he directly found Long Ruoxue. However, he regretted it now. Long Ruoxue's words also made Ren Xin break out in a cold sweat. He was terrified. Boo-hoo. When did he say that? This girl actually made him take the blame. However, he sympathized with Ma Ming more. With his cultivation, he could not defeat that cunning little fox. Well, then again, Long Ruoxue did seem to be quite gullible. However, if anyone really thought that, they would definitely suffer a huge loss. This was the conclusion he came to after spending more than a month with Long Ruoxue and the others. Miss Long, the other party has many experts. If the two of them join forces, I'm afraid young Master Ren alone. Ma Ming had no choice but to continue persuading her. However, this time, he stopped halfway because he believed that even if Long Ruoxue didn't understand, the others would understand what he meant. Unfortunately, after waiting for a long time, no one interrupted. Even Long Ruoxue fell silent. Miss Long, Ma Ming called softly. Sir Ma Ming, has the other party already joined forces? Long Ruoxue asked with a face full of question marks. I'm not too sure about that, but just in case, we need to plan ahead. Otherwise, it'll be too late. Ma Ming reminded him. Sir Ma Ming, aren't you worrying too much? Long Ruoxue said very implicitly. Actually, what she wanted to say more was whether he had a murder fantasy. Why didn't she see that the two teams had plans to join forces? On the contrary, she felt that the two teams seemed to have a grudge. Chapter 876. The Mysterious Palace 2. Miss Long, you're still too young. Sigh. Ma Ming sighed heavily, his face still filled with disappointment. Miss Long, consider my proposal carefully. If you agree, come to me anytime, Ma Ming said again, then returned to his team dejectedly. You framed me. Ren Xin complained as soon as Ma Ming left. So what? Do you want to betray me? Long Ruoxue asked with a smile. How would I dare? I'm just complaining. Ren Xin immediately tried to curry favor with her. Boo-hoo. He did not dare to provoke this little demon. If she poisoned him, he would not be able to stand it. Haha. As long as you're obedient, I guarantee that you can leave here safely, Long Ruoxue said very seriously. Little Shuer, you just told Ma Ming that Brother Xian will protect you, Ren Xian reminded her. Oh, then how do you want to protect it? Long Ruoxue raised her eyebrows and asked calmly. Yes. How do you want to protect it? The freak raised his eyebrows and asked, his expression extremely unfriendly. Hee. Of course it's not my turn to protect you. Yi Chun is here. I'm nothing. Ren Xian hurriedly said. Boo-hoo. He was so afraid. Who would protect him? Good to know. Freak said. Yes, I know. Ren Xian kept nodding. As the three of them made small talk, a commotion broke out nearby, drawing everyone's attention. Something happened over there. We'll go take a look. Ren Xian found an excuse and quickly slipped away. Boo-hoo. If he stayed here, he would be so big. Miss, the two teams are fighting. After Lu Tao understood what had happened, she came to Long Ruoxue's side and gossiped. Because of what? Long Ruoxue asked curiously. Because of a rabbit. The people on both sides said they saw it first, Lu Tao said speechlessly. Sigh. There was no shortage of rabbits in the dark night seas, so she did not expect anyone to fight over rabbits. Hee. Actually, that rabbit is just an excuse, Long Ruoxue said knowingly. She had long seen that the two teams couldn't get along peacefully, so as long as they found an excuse, they would fight. Could it be that they already have a grudge? Lu Tao was puzzled. I think so. Judging from their clothes, they probably came from the same continent, Lung Ruoxue analyzed. Swear, it seems that Mom Ming's worries were unnecessary, the freak said with a chuckle. Oomph. That guy just wants us to be cannon fodder for him. At the same time, he wants to use us as labor, Lung Ruoxue said disdainfully. Miss gone too far, my lady. Shall I go and fix him? Lu Tao suggested. Lu Tao, you're a girl. Don't be so violent. Lung Ruoxue disagreed. Ugh. 2 drops of cold sweat dripped down Lu Tao's forehead. She thought to herself, no matter how violent I am, I can't be as violent as you, miss. You can eat now. Lung Ruoxue suddenly chuckled. She could already smell the fragrance of rice. Is the food ready? At this moment, Ren Xian, who smelled the fragrance of the food, ran back eagerly. Yes, we can eat now, Lung Ruoxue said. The meat she and the freak roasted was almost ready. Hee hee, that's great. Ren Xian smiled happily. He was so happy to be able to eat fragrant rice here every day. Glutton, Lung Ruoxue said helplessly. It's all because of you. Ren Xian felt very aggrieved. It was already very impressive for everyone to be able to eat hot roasted meat when they came out to train. However, not only did these people eat fish and meat every day, they could even eat rice. Boo-hoo. This was too much. One had to know that during the few days he was alone in the dark night seas, he had been eating hard rations. Boo-hoo. Why was the difference between people so huge? It's our fault. Lung Ruoxue was a little speechless. Well, who asked you to eat so well? You've spoiled my appetite. Boo-hoo. Ren Xian pretended to be aggrieved. Oh, why don't we do the same as usual? As for you, just eat your dry food, lest you blame us in the future. Lung Ruoxue thought for a moment and said, No, you can't abuse me. Ren Xian said aggrievedly with tears in his eyes. I told you to eat dry food, but you refused. You're blaming us for raising your appetite. You're really difficult to serve. Lung Ruoxue wiped the sweat on her forehead and pretended to be unhappy. Hee hee. Little Shuer, I was just joking. Don't let me eat my own dry food. Ren Xian begged. Boo-hoo. He knew that he could not defeat this little fox. Then you won't blame us in the future, right? Lung Ruoxue said worriedly. No. Ren Xian quickly said. Boo-hoo. At most, he would bring a few more storage rings when he went out in the future to improve his quality of life. Let's eat. Lung Ruoxue said. Miss, the meat is cut. I also stir-fried a few dishes that you like. Fengda brought over a small dining table and placed it in front of Lung Ruoxue and the freak. There were too many people here today, so it was really not convenient for everyone to eat at the same table. Therefore, he took out a smaller table for 8 people. It was perfect for the few of them. Okay. Lung Ruoxue nodded. Then, Ren Xian sat down at the dining table. Delicious, so fragrant. Ren Xian's mouth was already dripping with oil before Lung Ruoxue could speak. You've been hungry for a few days. Those who don't know might think that I'm abusing you. Lung Ruoxue was speechless. Did this guy have to be so exaggerated? Hee hee. Swear. Let him eat more if he likes it. When we leave the dark night seas in a few days, he won't have the chance to eat even if he wants to. Lung Qingtian, who was also sitting at the table, begged. Hee hee. This kid has good taste. The food they eat is all good stuff. Ordinary people really can't eat it. Grandpa Lung, you still dote on me. Ren Xian's eyes flickered with tears as he said coquettishly. Boo-hoo. After being together for so long, he really did not want to be separated from them. However, they were not from the same continent, so separation was inevitable. However, he had already decided that after he returned to the Cloudwind continent, he would work hard to cultivate and strive to reunite with them as soon as possible. Chapter 877. The Mysterious Palace, 3. Be good and eat. Lung Qingtian coaxed. Yes. Ren Xian nodded and started eating. While they were having a good time eating, the other three teams were feeling a little upset. Sigh. Look at what they were eating. Why was there such a huge difference between them? Long Ruoxue and the freak finished eating and went straight into the tent. After Fengda and the others finished eating, two of them stayed behind to keep watch while the others went into the tent to rest. The next day, as soon as Long Ruoxue and the freak left the tent, Changwu immediately approached them and whispered, "Miss, the other two teams looked for me yesterday." "Why?" Long Ruoxue asked in confusion. "He wants to join forces with us," Changwu said calmly. "Oh, what did you say?" Long Ruoxue asked calmly. It seemed that the other two teams also treated them as pushovers. Hee. Interesting. I said that I can't make the decision. I have to listen to Mississippi, Changwu said. Yes, that's fine. Long Ruoxue chuckled. Let's go somewhere else to take a look after dinner, Long Ruoxue said. Okay. Changwu nodded. After breakfast, Long Ruoxue and the others left the camp with the team, but Ma Ming also followed behind them with the team. Miss, why is he following us? Lu Tao asked in confusion. At the same time, she was a little angry. The dark night seas was so big, and there were so many roads. Why did he have to follow them? We'll know in a while. Long Ruoxue chuckled. With the golden snake leading the way, Long Ruoxue and the others arrived at a valley. Although it was a valley, it was actually made up of a few small hills. However, there were many herbs here, and there were also many precious species. Everyone, finish picking the herbs here first. Then, we'll go forward, Long Ruoxue instructed. Yes. Everyone nodded, then bent down to pick the medicine. Ma Ming and the others, who had been following them, also came to this valley. After seeing the mountain full of herbs, their eyes lit up and they also picked the herbs. Miss, these people are really too careless. How can they do this? Lu Tao could not help but say angrily when she saw that they were actually snatching the medicinal herbs from them. Calm down, Long Ruoxue comforted. Tisk, did you plant the herbs here? Why can't others pick them? After hearing Lu Tao's words, a Ma family disciple roared unhappily. Don't you know what first come, first served means? We found this place first. Even if you want to pick it, you have to say hello. Peach said angrily. In fact, she was even angrier that these people had followed them here and were still so self-righteous, as if they had accidentally discovered this place. Haven't you heard that those who are fated obtain natural treasures? Since we're here, it means that we're fated with these herbs. Therefore, we naturally have the right to pick them, the Ma family disciple said matter-of-factly. Is that so? According to your logic, you can only blame the other party for being weak. Long Ruoxue said with a faint smile. Of course. The Ma family disciple nodded. In that case, hand over your valuables. I want to rob you. Long Ruoxue said calmly. Ugh. Hearing Long Ruoxue's words, Fengda and the others were stunned for a moment. Fengda and the others looked at Long Ruoxue, puzzled. Why did Miss suddenly want to rob these people? They didn't seem to be rich. If they didn't have money, wouldn't it be a waste of time? As for the Ma family, they seemed to have heard something funny. After being stunned for a moment, they all laughed wildly because this was originally their plan, but they didn't expect Long Ruoxue to beat them to it. You said you were going to rob us? Ma Ming asked, suppressing a smile. Hee. Had he heard right? Yes, I want to rob you. Long Ruoxue repeated when she saw that their memory was not good. Haha, this is the funniest thing I've ever heard. You think you can rob us? A man in his 30s said disapprovingly. Miss Long, I meant to join forces with you, but you refused. Alas. Ma Ming sighed regretfully. So, you changed to robbing us? Long Ruoxue asked with a faint smile. Miss Long, it's your fault for refusing a toast only to drink a forfeit. I had no choice. Ma Ming said helplessly. He originally wanted to recruit Long Ruoxue and the others to be cannon fodder and do odd jobs for them, but they refused. This greatly embarrassed him. In addition, Long Ruoxue and the others ate so well, so the anger and jealousy of the Ma family surged in his heart. Therefore, after secretly discussing for a night, they decided to deal with Long Ruoxue's team and rob them. Brother Xian, Shuer is so scared. Long Ruoxue looked at Ren Xian with tears in her eyes. Ma Ming, how dare you? Aren't you afraid of the Ren family's revenge? Ren Xian sighed to himself and pretended to be angry as he roared. Sigh. Poor Ma Ming. He sympathized with him. How could that guy be a match for Long Ruoxue, who liked to pretend to be weak? Young Master Ren Xian, although you're the direct descendant of the Ren family, it's a pity that you're going to die here today. Hee hee. If you die in the dark night seas, who will know that it was my Ma family who did it? Ma Ming said with a treacherous expression. Since he had decided to take care of Long Ruoxue's team, he naturally could not let go of Ren Xian, the time bomb. Otherwise, if the Ren family found out, they would definitely not let the Ma family off. Therefore, Ren Xian could only die. Are you sure you can kill me? Ren Xian's face was full of mockery, and his eyes could not help but reveal a trace of sympathy. Sigh. What's more pathetic than not knowing the strength of your opponent? Of course, you're all dead, Ma Ming said confidently. Then hurry up and do it. Long Ruoxue urged. Chapter 878. The Mysterious Palace, 4. Hee hee. There are actually people who can't wait to die. However, little beauty, I can't bear to kill you now. The man in his 30s from the Ma family smiled wretchedly, his eyes emitting a lecherous light. I'm willing to kill you now. Long Ruoxue's beautiful eyes released a chill. Then, a stream of water attribute mystic energy flew out from her fingertips. The man fell to the ground with a thud. There was an obvious wound on his neck, but no blood flowed out. On closer inspection, however, one could see that a thin layer of ice had formed around the wound. Once this man from the Ma family died, the Ma family was in chaos. Many weaker disciples looked at Long Ruoxue in horror. Long Ruoxue, how could you kill him? Ma Ming's face was filled with disbelief. No. He absolutely did not believe that Long Ruoxue had killed him, but he was very sure that he had not seen anyone else attack. This was really unbelievable. This sudden situation had even messed up his heart. What's impossible? Long Ruoxue said lightly. He's mystic sovereign. You are just a great mystic. Even though Ma Ming hadn't finished speaking, he was dumbfounded when he saw Long Ruoxue's true strength. After a while, Ma Ming came back to his senses and muttered, Mystic supremacy. You're actually a mystic supremacy. How could you lie to me? Long Ruoxue, you actually lied to me. Ma Ming regretted it. How could he have made the wrong decision again? Boo-hoo. He had always thought that he was smart and scheming, but he had made the wrong decisions one after another. Moreover, the opponent who had caused his mistake was actually the same person. How could he bear it? When did I lie to you? Long Ruoxue was speechless. Why was this person so unreasonable? Could it be that she had to tell others that she was a mystic supremacy when she saw them? Then why was she still hiding her strength? You're clearly a mystic sovereign. So why are you pretending to be a great mystic? Ma Ming gritted his teeth and questioned, the anger in his eyes burning. Because I want to, can I? Long Ruoxue couldn't help but roll her eyes and say angrily. You. Ma Ming pointed at Long Ruoxue, too angry to speak. Haha. Ma Ming. There's no rule in this world that states that you can't hide your strength. You want to bully the weak, but you actually blame others when you don't succeed. Sigh. There's really no justice. Ren Xian said with a smile. Ma Ming wanted to defend himself, but he had nothing to say. He knew that Ren Xian was right. They wanted to bully the weak. Unfortunately, the other party was pretending to be weak. In the end, they were naturally doomed. Don't waste your breath on him. Let's end this quickly. Long Ruoxue ordered. She would never let go of people who had bad intentions towards them. After all, if they were weak, they would be the ones to die. Yes. Fengde and the others nodded. Then, they attacked together. All kinds of mystic energy danced in the night sky. In an instant, The Ma family did not even have the chance to resist before they disappeared from this world. They're indeed fast. Looking at the speed at which Fengde and the others attacked, Ren Xian was speechless. He originally wanted to show off a little, but unfortunately, he didn't have the chance. Boo-hoo. It was too much of a blow to these people. Just as Ren Xian was feeling regretful, the ground suddenly shook and the small valley collapsed. Long Ruoxue and the others quickly summoned their beasts and flew into the air. Sigh. It's a pity that we haven't finished picking those herbs. Lu Tao's face was filled with pity, and she secretly hated the Ma family. If they didn't have ill intentions, how could this place have collapsed? Stop complaining. Let's go down and take a look, Long Ruoxue said helplessly. Although the valley had collapsed, she sensed that there seemed to be something else below the valley. Yes. Lu Tao and the others nodded, then followed Long Ruoxue down into the valley. Long Ruoxue and the others looked down from the collapse and were surprised to find a faint light inside. Miss, they'll go down and take a look, Chengwu volunteered. Be careful, Long Ruoxue warned. Okay. Chengwu nodded, then jumped down. Soon, Chengwu's voice came from the cave-in. Miss, there seems to be a palace below, Chengwu said. Oh, wait for us there. We'll go down too, Long Ruoxue said after some thought. With that, everyone went down in an orderly manner. Inside, Long Ruoxue and the others realized that it was indeed as Chengwu had said. It was a very tall and magnificent palace. Moreover, the further they walked, the brighter the light became, and the more luxurious the decorations of the palace were. Finally, they arrived at the main hall. This wall is empty. Let's open it and take a look, Long Ruoxue said. Okay, Chengwu replied. Then, he took out a sledgehammer from his storage ring and smashed it against the wall. With a bang, the wall shattered, revealing what was inside. Why is there an array formation here? Long Ruoxue looked at the array formation that emitted a 7-colored light in front of them after the wall shattered. She was extremely surprised. The spiritual energy on this array formation circulated, and she knew at a glance that it was not an ordinary array formation. This array formation is so beautiful, Chuizhu couldn't help but say as she looked at the colorful and dazzling array formation. Little girl, you know that it's beautiful. This array formation is clearly extraordinary. The little old man chuckled. Shuer, can you undo this array formation? Empty observed the array formation and asked curiously. I've never seen this array formation before, so I have to determine what kind of array formation it is first, Long Ruoxue said thoughtfully. Even though she had some research on array formations, her master had left behind many array formations, so she hadn't learned all of them. And this array formation in front of her just happened to be one she didn't know. Yes. Everyone nodded and looked at Long Ruoxue expectantly. We'll go look for information on this array formation. Wait for me here and be careful, Long Ruoxue said helplessly. With that, she brought the freak into the bracelet. After entering the bracelet, Long Ruoxue went straight to the purple bamboo hut's cultivation room and started searching in the array formation left behind by her master. However, Long Ruoxue searched all the elementary, intermediate, and advanced array formations, but could not find any array formation that was even a little similar to the one just now. This made her a little depressed. What is it? Freak asked with concern, sensing Shuer's mood. There's nothing in the beginner, intermediate, and advanced array formations, Long Ruoxue said gloomily. What about the top-level array? The freak asked calmly. I haven't found one yet, Long Ruoxue replied. However, she was a little puzzled. Would there be a top-notch array formation on the boundless heaven continent? After all, she knew very well the difficulty of setting up an array formation. No one on the boundless heaven continent should be able to set up a top-notch array formation. Then look for it, the freak suggested. Okay, Long Ruoxue nodded. If the top-notch array formation didn't exist, she could only think of a way to break it herself. After a long time, found it. It's indeed a top-notch array formation. Long Ruoxue suddenly shouted, then became even more depressed. Hee hee. It's good that you found it, the freak said with a smile. Not good. Long Ruoxue sighed softly. Why not? The freak was puzzled. In his opinion, since he knew what the array was, it should be much easier to break it. It was better than being blind. This array is called the God-binding array. It's formed by 81 large arrays, and each large array contains 81 small arrays. Not only that, but there are also array cores in each array. Therefore, in the process of undoing the array, you can't make a single mistake. Otherwise, all your previous efforts will be wasted, Long Ruoxue explained. Sigh. It would be fine if all your previous efforts were not damaged, but if there was a mistake in this array, the person who undid the array would also be injured. Of course, she did not intend to say this out loud, lest the freak worry. Chapter 880, The Night Clan 2, The God-Binding Array? Hee hee. Swear, is it a god that's trapped in that array? The freak asked curiously. It's fine if it's really a god, but I'm afraid it's not, Long Ruoxue said with some difficulty. In fact, she wanted to try to solve that array, but she was afraid that she would release something she shouldn't and hurt her family and subordinates. That wouldn't be worth it, so she was a little uncertain. Elder sister, the God-binding array can be undone. Don't worry. Suddenly, Qingju appeared in front of Long Ruoxue and the freak and said, Are you sure? Long Ruoxue asked. Yes, the God-binding array is different from other array formations. The person who breaks the array will naturally become the master of the God-binding array and form a contract with the trapped thing. Therefore, no matter what is trapped inside, they won't dare to hurt you, nor can they hurt you, Qingju explained with a wicked smile. This array formation is really magical, but why didn't Master explain it in the array formation? Long Ruoxue said in confusion. In the array formation that Master had left for her, basically every wave of the array formation would indicate the pros and cons, the method to crack the array formation, and the things to take note of. However, only the basic method to crack the array formation was written in the annotation of this God-binding array. There were no other instructions. Sister, it's very difficult to meet the requirements for setting up a binding array. Besides, the person who unlocks the array will obtain the greatest benefits. Therefore, the old master didn't say anything. He just wanted to test the courage of the person who unlocks the array. After all, there is no free lunch in the world. If you want to obtain a big opportunity, it's impossible not to take a risk. Qingju chuckled. Yes, that makes sense, but Qingju, you told me. Long Ruoxue reminded with a smile. Sister, even if I don't say it, you'll still undo the array. Besides, although there's a way to undo the array, it's hard to say if you can undo it. The God-binding array is most famous for its myriad changes, so those array cores will run around by themselves, Qingju said knowingly and reminded Long Ruoxue. Yes, that's right. Long Ruoxue nodded in agreement. She had hesitated previously because she was afraid that she would release something she shouldn't have and hurt her family and subordinates. Since she no longer had this worry, she could naturally release the God-binding array without worry. After all, it wasn't easy to encounter a top-notch array formation. Hee hee. Then congratulations on unlocking the God-binding array. I'm looking forward to what's trapped in the array. Qingju also urged curiously. Okay, we'll go out first. Long Ruoxue left the bracelet with the freak. Chapter 881, The Night Clan 3, I don't know. She probably encountered another problem. Chengwu guessed. However, he was right. Lung Ruoxue did encounter a problem. So what do we do? Lu Tao was worried. Don't worry, we have to have confidence in Mississippi. There's nothing in this world that Miss can't do, Fengde said calmly. In his heart, Lung Ruoxue was absolutely omnipotent. Lung Ruoxue naturally didn't know about the secret communication between Fengde and the others. At this moment, her attention was focused on the God-binding array. The reason why she stopped was because she realized that after undoing the 15 arrays, the speed and location of the array were disrupted again. This situation was not explained in her master's method of undoing the array, so she could only search carefully again. That was because of her first experience. She quickly found the direction of the array formation, grasped the flow rate of the array formation, and continued to dismantle it. However, when she deciphered the 30th formation, the same situation happened again. She was mentally prepared for this, so after observing for a while and finding the flow rate and direction of the formation again, she deciphered it again. Then, when she solved the 45th, 60th, and 75th formations, the patterns of the formations continued to be disrupted. However, with her previous experience, she quickly resolved the problem. There were many array formations in the God-binding array, which was also known as the array within the array. Therefore, it was abnormally complicated to crack. Moreover, one had to be careful when cracking the array. Otherwise, one wrong step would lead to many mistakes. It had already taken Lung Ruoxue a month to solve the 75th array. When she began to solve the 76th array, she realized that the difficulty of the array had increased. Her master had never mentioned these unexpected situations, which made her want to cry. However, she had already solved so many arrays, so she naturally didn't want to waste all her previous efforts. Therefore, she could only accept her fate and continue to solve it. At the other end of the formation, everyone from the Night Clan gathered in front of the light screen and stared intently at Lung Ruoxue. From time to time, they would look at the God-binding array that was still operating. At this moment, most of the array formations on the God-binding array had stopped operating, but the most important ones continued to work. The remaining few were also the most important and complicated ones in the God-binding array. Can the last handle it, Chief? One of the Night Clan couldn't help but ask. His face was expressionless, but he was nervous. After being trapped for so long, it was up to the last to get him out. I think so. The leader of the Night Clan was not very confident. The fact that she could undo 75 formations was enough to show that her attainments in array formations were not low. However, the last 6 were extremely important, so he could not be sure. Alas, he did not dare to let his clansmen have too much hope. After all, the higher their expectations, the greater the disappointment in the end. At this moment, Lung Ruoxue, who was focused on solving the array formation, naturally didn't know what the Night Clan was thinking. However, her interest in the God-binding array was growing. In the solution left behind by her master, there was only the basic solution to the array. However, there was no mention of the possible accidents during the solution process and the solution to the last 6 array formations. These situations were also discovered and resolved by her during the solution process. Therefore, at this moment, she was very confident and motivated. 75 formations had been taken care of. She didn't believe she couldn't handle the last 6. In any case, she was fighting this God-binding formation. Besides, she had to break it. Otherwise, she would be injured. This array is so difficult. Fengde sent a voice transmission to Chengwu and the others. It had been more than a month, but the God-binding array had yet to be unlocked. That's right. Chengwu nodded. Under the lead of the Golden Snake, they had already finished circling the Dark Night Seas. However, the young lattice array formation had yet to be resolved. Calm down, there's only 6 left. Lu Tao comforted her. Didn't you notice that the speed at which Miss deconstructs the last few array formations has slowed down? This means that the last few are very difficult, Chengwu reminded. Sigh. Everyone could not help but sigh. This God-binding array was too torturous. If they had not solved it after so long, they would have gone crazy long ago. After another half a month, Lung Ruoxue finally settled the 3 large arrays and found some patterns to deconstruct them. After finding the pattern, it was much easier to solve the next few array formations. However, after she solved the 80th array formation, she was stuck on the last array formation. The last array formation was located in the center of the entire God-binding array. In other words, the 81st array formation was the array formation, and it was also the largest eye of the God-binding array. Therefore, the difficulty of this array formation instantly increased by several levels. Oh, compared to the previous array formation, this was a small God-binding array. In the center of the God-binding array, a ball of light surrounded it. It was covered in strange symbols and emitted a dazzling light. Lung Ruoshu looked at this thing that was both an array and the eye of the array and had a headache because she really didn't know where to start. Lung Ruoshue closed her eyes and pondered quietly. The process of removing the array appeared in her mind. After a while, when she opened her beautiful eyes again, her eyes flickered and her eyes lit up. A bold idea formed in her mind. After calming down, Lung Ruoshue resolved the last array according to her thoughts. Time passed minute by minute. Lung Ruoshue kept casting various dazzling spells with both hands, while Fengda and the others could not help but hold their breaths, not even daring to breathe loudly. The Dark Knight clan members were equally nervous. After an unknown period of time, when the last light on the God-binding array had dimmed and disappeared, the entire God-binding array had finally been successfully unlocked. After Lung Ruoshue undid the God-binding array, she finally relaxed, but she fainted from exhaustion. "Miss Schwer!" everyone exclaimed. The freak nervously hugged Schwer and fed her a pill. Then, as a group, they retreated. However, before they left behind enough special explosives to destroy the entire Dark Knight Seas. In the bracelet, Lung Ruoshue was shocked when she heard the words of the group of people in black outside. Those people were really too crazy. Even though she didn't know if there were still people training in the Dark Knight Seas, there were still many beasts here. However, before she could think about it, there was a loud bang, and then the screen in front of her was filled with flying sand and stones. She couldn't see anything. Actually, she quite liked this place. Moreover, she didn't feel that it was as dangerous as others said. With that, Lung Ruoshue left the bracelet with the freak. After leaving the bracelet, Lung Ruoshue looked at the mess in front of her and was furious. Even though this was not her home, anyone would be angry when they saw that the place was destroyed beyond recognition. Schwer, based on the current situation, it won't be easy to find the way back to the boundless heaven continent, the freak said with a headache. Qingju said that the boundless heaven continent should be in the east. Let's go east. Lung Ruoshue communicated with Qingju and said to the freak, "Okay." The freak nodded, then pulled Lung Ruoshue towards the east of the ruins. After walking for nearly half a day, Lung Ruoshue and the freak finally found the path they came from and left the Dark Knight Seas. Standing on the vast plain, Lung Ruoshue looked at the entrance to the Dark Knight Seas with some reluctance. She was extremely depressed. Even though she had been in the Dark Knight Seas for more than 3 months, she had been undoing the God-binding array for the next 2 months. Therefore, it could be said that her trip to the Dark Knight Sea was in vain. Actually, it was not in vain. After all, she had unlocked the God-binding array and obtained the Night Clan. However, she still felt quite regretful that she could not explore the entire Dark Knight Seas. What she didn't know was that herbs, ores, and beasts weren't the best in the Dark Knight Seas. The most valuable thing there was the Night Clan trapped in the God-binding array. However, not everyone could discover the Night Clan, let alone undo the God-binding array. The reason why the Night Clan was trapped there was because the person who set up the array was too confident in his God-binding array. Therefore, he didn't expect the Night Clan to be rescued by Long Ruoxue by chance. Schwer, stop looking, the freak said with some amusement. From the looks of it, Schwerer seemed to want to stare a hole in the path that led to the Dark Night Seas. However, even if she kept staring, she would never have the chance to go to the Dark Night Seas again. Yes, freak, let's go. Long Ruoxue nodded. Okay, Schwerer, where are we going? The freak asked with a faint smile. Let's go back to Myriad Mountain City to take a look. Long Ruoxue thought for a moment, and then summoned the little peacock and moved Fengda and the others out of the bracelet.
Yes.
The freak nodded. Except for Myriad Mountain City, they didn't seem to have a permanent residence on the mainland. But they wouldn't be there long, so it didn't matter where they went. Everyone sat on the back of the little peacock and flew towards Myriad Mountain City. 10 days later, everyone arrived at Myriad Mountain City. As it was already late at night, Long Ruoxue didn't alarm anyone, so she instructed the little peacock to land directly in the backyard where they had once lived. I'm going to bed. Do whatever you want. Long Ruoxue said to everyone and pulled the freak back to her room irresponsibly. After entering the room, Long Ruoxue found that the furnishings in the room were as usual. Moreover, the room was spotless. The butler probably sent someone to clean it every day. The next morning, before Long Ruoxue and the freak left the room, they heard a piercing scream in the courtyard and left the room. What happened? Long Ruoxue asked curiously. Miss, it's none of my business. She cried out when she saw me. Chengwu pointed at a middle-aged woman around 40 years old and spoke with slight grievance. Miss, you're back. The middle-aged woman rubbed her eyes in disbelief. However, she immediately shouted, Someone! When Long Ruoxue and the others heard this cry, they couldn't help but be speechless. They thought to themselves, this auntie is really energetic. Before the middle-aged woman could finish her sentence, a few figures quickly appeared in the courtyard. What happened? The head butler asked anxiously before he could stabilize himself. However, when he saw Long Ruoxue, his eyes immediately widened in surprise. Miss, you're finally back. Woo! The butler was so excited that tears welled up in his eyes and his words were slurred. Yes, everything's fine. Long Ruoxue asked with a light smile. Myriad Mountain City is fine. We miss you very much, the head butler said sheepishly. I miss you guys too, Long Ruoxue replied. Hee hee. The head butler was even more embarrassed after hearing Long Ruoxue's words. However, when his gaze accidentally swept past Chengwu and the others, it immediately bloomed with hatred and he waved his fists at them. Damn it. How dare you heartless people come back? The head butler chased after Chengwu and the others relentlessly. Apart from hiding, Chengwu and the others did not retaliate at all. This was mainly because they felt guilty. This was because they had used some shady methods to successfully leave the Myriad Mountain City. Therefore, the honest butler was left behind to guard the house again. Sigh. It's good to be young. The disheveled old man looked at Chengwu and the others who were chasing and playing. Are you very old? Long Qingtian looked at the disheveled old man and said with a faint smile. Not old. I'm young too, the disheveled old man quickly corrected himself. Otherwise, he knew, these old men would never let him go. Chapter 885. Caught, too, yes. As a filial fiancé, he naturally had to fully support Schwer's words. Schwer. Suddenly, Long Ruhan's voice reached their ears. Brother, you're awake. Long Ruoxue said with a smile. Yes, I accidentally drank too much yesterday and woke up late, Long Ruhan said in embarrassment. Brother woke up very early. The others haven't woken up yet. Long Ruoxue said helplessly. Still not awake? Lung Ruhan was a little surprised. Uh, it was almost noon, but he was still asleep. Yes, by the way, brother, the freak and I are planning to enter seclusion in a few days. What are your plans? Lung Ruoxue asked. I'm also in seclusion, Lung Ruhan said. He did not want to be too far behind his sister and drag Schwer down. All right, then we'll enter seclusion first and break through to mystic supremacy. Lung Ruoxue nodded in agreement. Girl, we're also in seclusion. Lung Qingtian and the others, who had just walked out of the room and heard their conversation, hurriedly said. Please keep reading on MYB Zero's novel. All right, let's go into seclusion together, Lung Ruoxue said with a smile. She was very happy that everyone's mood for cultivation was high. The reason why she didn't decide to go into seclusion immediately was that she was afraid something would happen. And just as she thought, the Luo father and son came to the door the day after they decided to go into seclusion. In the living room, Lung Ruoxue looked at the uneasy Luoxian and his son and couldn't help but ask curiously, did the Luo family encounter any difficulties? No. It's just that a few days ago, the Lung family sent someone to the Luo family and said that they wanted to form an alliance with us. The Shadow League also came to find me. Luoxian quickly explained, feeling even more nervous. Alas, he naturally knew why those two families had come to find him. Moreover, the Lung family and the Shadow League were not the only ones who had come to find him. Earlier, the Mystic Masters Guild and the Alchemist Guild had also sent people to the Luo family and even told him to ask for anything. This situation could not help but make the young and old of the Luo family feel flattered. However, those two guilds did not mention the alliance, so he accepted their favor. However, these two guilds were different. He did not dare to make decisions on his own, so he had to come to find his master. Oh, Lung Ruoxue replied faintly and fell into deep thought. After a while, Lung Ruoxue looked up at her grandfather and said, Grandpa, what do you think? Right now, the Luo family is not strong enough to form an alliance with the other party. If it's really an alliance, I'm afraid it will be controlled by others. Lung Qingtian thought for a while. If the two sides of the alliance were evenly matched in strength, wealth, and power, the alliance would have a better effect. If there was a huge gap between the two sides in all aspects, then the alliance would not be a good thing. In the beginning, this situation might not be too serious, but as time passed, the disadvantages would be revealed. What do you think? Lung Ruoxue turned her gaze to the others present. Old Long has a point. Now is indeed not a good time to form an alliance, the little old man said. Miss, the Lung family and the Shadow League want to form an alliance with the Luo family because of your power. However, we can't stay in the boundless heaven continent for long. If we leave and the Lung family falls out with the Shadow League, no one will be able to protect the Luo family. Cheng Wu analyzed. That's right. Be it the Lung family or the Shadow League, they're both very cunning. It's better not to ally with them, Fengde said. Actually, it doesn't matter if we form an alliance. After all, forming an alliance requires a contract. Therefore, even if we leave, they probably won't dare to go back on their word. However, I still hope that the Luo family can obtain their recognition with their own strength. Luoxian, do you understand what I mean? Lung Ruoxue only spoke her thoughts after listening to everyone. I understand. I know what to do, Luoxian said quickly. Yes, you can decide on this kind of thing yourself in the future. We'll be going into seclusion in a few days. This is for you. If there's anything in the future, you can come to Myriad Mountain City to find the butler for help. Lung Ruoxue handed Luoxian a ring. Thank you, Mississippi. I will definitely work hard to develop the Luo family. I won't disappoint you, Luoxian promised. He knew that everything the Miss gave him was good, so he naturally wouldn't refuse. Okay, I'm looking forward to it, Lung Ruoxue said with a smile. Then, she chatted with Luoxian and his son for a while before sending them off. After sending off the Luo father and son, Lung Ruoxue instructed the butler. 3 days later, everyone went into seclusion. Immediately, Lung Ruoxue's beasts also chose to enter seclusion. For a moment, the originally lively space became quiet. Even though Lung Ruoxue was in seclusion, with Qingju around, Empty could still enter and leave the space at any time. Therefore, when he had nothing to do during the day, he would bring Icy around Myriad Mountain City and return to the space to rest at night. Meanwhile, the Luo family was also developing rapidly. Luo Xian, who had left Myriad Mountain City and returned to the Luo family, rejected the Long family's request to form an alliance with the Shadow League. The reason was that the Luo family was too weak now and did not dare to approach them. However, the Long family and the Shadow League did not completely give up and made many conditions that were beneficial to the Luo family. In the end, Luo Xian could not refuse their kindness, and the three families still formed an alliance. At the same time, the relationship between Myriad Mountain City and the Luo family was even closer. After all, both families were related to Long Ruoxue, so they naturally had to support each other. Time passed quickly. In the blink of an eye, 2 years had passed since Long Ruoxue and the others went into seclusion, and this was definitely the longest they had been in seclusion. In the yard behind the mountain, 2 extremely handsome men were sitting in the courtyard, staring at each other. Is little Schwerer still not out of seclusion? Long Xiaoyu asked for the umpteenth time, her handsome face filled with gloom. No, they won't come out of seclusion until they break through, so you really don't have to run so often. Wu Qing sighed and said helplessly. This man came once every 3 months in the beginning, but in the past 6 months, he had come every month. Moreover, every time he came, he looked like he had been abandoned. It was really unbearable. It's been 2 years. Lung Xiaoyu reminded him. I know, but I can't find them if they don't come out of seclusion. Empty rolled his eyes and said speechlessly. Actually, he had been very depressed for the past 2 years. Chapter 886, Caught 3, Sigh. Lung Xiaoyu sighed. If he didn't know that breaking through to mystic supremacy was not easy, he would definitely be petty and think that little Schwerer deliberately didn't want to see him. What are you sighing for? Did someone die in the Long family again? Empty said with a smile. Hee hee. The Long family's death records in recent years were actually all made by Schwerer. Just thinking about it made him feel satisfied. In the boundless heaven continent, only Schwerer dared to not take the Long family seriously. I'm sorry to disappoint you. The Long family has been very peaceful for the past 2 years. Lung Xiaoyu suppressed her anger. That's quite disappointing. However, the Long family has been peaceful for the past 2 years because Schwerer is in seclusion. Hee hee. When Schwerer comes out of seclusion, the Long family might be in trouble again. All of them provoked. Damn it, are you courting death? Lung Xiaoyu glared at him and said fiercely. Tisk, I've already died once, so you can't threaten me? Empty smiled indifferently, completely disregarding Long Xiaoyu's anger. I can't be bothered with you. We'll go back first. Remember to send someone to inform me when Schwerer comes out of seclusion. Lung Xiaoyu glared at her for a while. He knew that there was nothing he could do, so he patted his butt and left. They'll tell you. As if. Empty muttered to himself as he watched Lung Xiaoyu leave. Empty, did you quarrel again? The major domo appeared out of nowhere, grinning, his face full of gossip. What do we have to argue about? Asked Empty. Please keep reading on MYB Zero's novel. Kamhi. It's nothing. It's nothing. The head butler shook his head repeatedly, but he couldn't help but feel uneasy in his heart. Everyone knew that the Lung family's ancestor always came to look for Wu. Therefore, everyone was very curious about their relationship. Fortunately, everyone knew how to read minds and could not know what the butler was thinking. Otherwise, they would definitely vomit blood from anger. Anything new on the mainland lately? Empty asked, sounding bored. Hee hee. The Luo family is developing well. Other than Luo Xian and his son, everyone else is working hard to cultivate and improve their strength. The butler thought for a while and said, in the past 2 years, he had been very close to the Luo family, so he knew a little about the recent situation of the Luo family. Oh, not bad. I didn't waste Schwerer's efforts. Empty nodded in satisfaction. Empty, when will Miss and the others come out of seclusion? The butler asked curiously. Boo-hoo. Actually, if Miss hadn't asked him to manage the affairs of the Myriad Mountain City, he would have wanted to enter seclusion too. I don't know. After they come out of seclusion, you should go into seclusion too. Empty said with understanding. In the past 2 years, he had spent more time with the head butler and was considered familiar with him. The head butler had also advanced to Shinzun a year ago. However, Myriad Mountain City could not leave him now, so he could not go into seclusion to cultivate like Schwerer and the others.
Yes.
The major domo nodded. The current Myriad Mountain City placed great importance on nurturing talents, and he had long since chosen a successor for himself. It was just that he was not too mature yet, so he could not completely let go. However, he should be able to enter seclusion after Cheng Wu and the others came out of seclusion. A year later, Lung Ruoxue and the others finally came out of seclusion. Schwerer, you're finally out. In the courtyard, Empty looked at Lung Ruoxue and the others aggrievedly. Lung Ruoxue couldn't help but frown. She thought to herself, what kind of expression is that? Is it that serious? Miss, I missed you so much. The head butler cried again, making Lung Ruoxue and the others even more speechless. All right, the two of you, don't be so exaggerated. Okay? Lung Ruoxue couldn't stand it anymore. She felt that the hair on her body was about to stand up. Hee. Schwerer, you can all break through now, right? Empty asked expectantly. Okay. Lung Ruoxue nodded. Before they came out of the bracelet, they had already communicated that everyone could advance. However, they didn't plan to advance immediately. After all, there were still some things that needed to be dealt with in the Boundless Heaven continent, and she had given the Luo family 10 years back then, so they couldn't just leave now. I am going into seclusion, my lady, the head butler said quickly. Okay. Lung Ruoxue nodded. What about your seclusion in Myriad Mountain City? Changwu couldn't help but ask when he heard that the butler was going into seclusion. He could already tell that the butler was mystic supremacy. Don't we have you guys? Don't tell me you want to be hands-off managers too? The head butler glared, but his expression was extremely aggrieved. Boo-hoo. These people had all learned bad things from Mississippi. None of them wanted to be in charge anymore. They were really too much. We don't know when we'll leave the Boundless Heaven continent, Changwu reminded him. He hasn't left yet, has he? I've found a successor. Just keep an eye on him for me, said the head butler. Chengwu, you guys can manage Myriad Mountain City for now? Lung Ruoxue suppressed her smile. She knew that if she didn't appear, Chengwu wouldn't agree so easily, and she couldn't bear to see the butler's pitiful expression. All right then, Chengwu said reluctantly. Boo-hoo. Now that the miss had come forward, he had to listen. Hee. Then I'll leave the Myriad Mountain City to you. I'll go into seclusion. After saying that, the butler ran away. Well, he was afraid that a long delay would cause trouble. Lung Ruoxue couldn't help but laugh when she saw the butler running faster than a rabbit. After that, she was bored for a while. Then, she used nearly a month to set up a defensive array for the Myriad Mountain City before leaving with the Freak, Fengda, and the others. The main reason she left the Myriad Mountain City this time was to take a good look around the continent and visit her old friends. However, she only took Fengda and the others with her. Chengwu and the others were left behind in the Myriad Mountain City. However, when she thought of Chengwu and the others' resentful expressions before they left, Lung Ruoxue couldn't help but want to laugh. Sigh. It wasn't like she didn't want to go back, let alone abandon them. Did they have to pretend to be abandoned? After Lung Ruoxue and the others left Myriad Mountain City, they first went to the Luo family. Walking on the streets of Luoyang City, Lung Ruoxue looked at the pedestrians on the streets and the dazzling array of shops on the streets. She couldn't help but sigh. It seemed that the Luo family had really put in a lot of effort in the past few years. The reason why she chose to go to Carefree City was because of Empty, Grandpa Du, and Zheng'an. Girl, you're so thoughtful, the little old man said happily after hearing Lung Ruox's words. Hee hee, Grandpa Du, why are you so polite? Lung Ruoxue chuckled. It took nearly 10 days to fly from Luoyang City to Xiaoyao City. After arriving at the entrance of Carefree City, Lung Ruoxue and the others jumped off the little peacock's back and prepared to walk into the city. However, as he was about to enter the city, he was stopped by the guards at the city gate. Lung Ruoxue raised her beautiful eyes and looked at the guard who stopped them in confusion without saying anything. I just want to tell you about the things to take note of in Carefree City. The guard blushed under Lung Ruox's gaze and quickly explained. Cautions? Lung Ruox's beautiful face was full of question marks. She asked in confusion, since when are there precautions in Carefree City? Lung Ruoxue knew that there were many rules in Carefree City, but what were these precautions? It was there years ago, the guard said. Oh, then tell me. Tell me what the punishment will be if I accidentally violate the precautions, Lung Ruoxue said patiently. I want to ask you first, are there bears? Do you have any bear-type beasts? The guard asked with a cautious expression. What's the difference? Lung Ruoxue asked curiously. Yes. What will happen if I do? The disheveled old man was very concerned about this, because he had bears, even though those two hares had been staying in the girl's space. It wouldn't matter if there weren't any bears, but if there are, you'll have to watch yourselves. Don't ever let the bears out, and don't talk about them in public, or you'll be arrested for sure, the guard explained. How did this happen? Did bear provoke you? The disheveled old man was a little speechless. Even though he often went into seclusion, he had been to a few large main cities, but he had never seen such a rule in any city. Did the president of the Mystic Cultivator Association headquarters decide this? Lung Ruoxue said in understanding, but she was already laughing in her heart. Haha, she thought it was something to take note of, so it was related to bears. Since it was related to bears, it must be something Yulin did. Yes, they're afraid of bears, and their expressions change when they talk about bears. Therefore, it's forbidden to bring bears and talk about bears in Carefree City now. The guard suppressed his laughter. We understand. Thank you. Lung Ruoxue led everyone into Carefree City. Girl, what's going on? The disheveled old man couldn't help but ask when he saw the strange expressions on Zheng In and the others' faces. Hee hee. Zheng In laughed evilly and vividly explained the reason to the old man and the others on the street. Zheng In had no choice but to stop when he reached Carefree Building. Miss, are we still staying at Carefree Building? Zheng In asked. Okay. Lung Ruoxue nodded and walked in with the freak. The shopkeeper of the Carefree Building recognized Lung Ruoxue and the others from afar and quickly went forward to greet them. He enthusiastically arranged accommodation for them and then sent someone to the Mystic Cultivator Association headquarters. It was precisely because of the information from the shopkeeper that not long after Lung Ruoxue and the others entered the room, Yulin came with Lan Ming. Yulin and his disciple sat on the chairs in the living room. The two of them looked bitterly at Lung Ruoxue, who was sitting on the same chair. Unfortunately, she only lowered her head and drank her tea, ignoring them. Schwer, little Schwer, little Schwer. Yulin called her several times in a row. Just say it. Lung Ruoxue raised her beautiful eyes and couldn't stand it anymore. Sigh. Why is this guy still so? Chapter 888, Caught, 5, Schwer. Don't leave this time. Prepare to take over the Mystic Cultivator Association headquarters. Yulin mustered his courage and said, his heart filled with anticipation. Don't you have little Lan Lan? Lung Ruoxue rolled her eyes. Her beautiful face said, don't have any ideas about me? Minger is going into seclusion. So am I. So, we can only rely on you now, Yulin said pitifully. He was just wondering how to trick this girl into coming to Carefree City. He didn't expect her to come to him. How nice. But I'm leaving the boundless heaven continent. This time, I'm here to bid you farewell. Long Ruox's words stunned the expectant masters. Leave, leave? What do you mean? Yulin's eyes widened in disbelief. It's what you think, Long Ruoxue said lightly. She really didn't mean to scare him. Yulin was completely depressed after hearing Long Ruox's words. Boo-hoo. Where did this pervert come from? He was actually leaving Hao Tian. They were both humans, but why was the difference so huge? When Lan Ming heard Long Ruox's words, he was even more depressed. He had been trying his best to catch up to Long Ruoxue and the others, but he was still left far behind by them. Boo-hoo. He had just broken through to the Mystic Sovereign Realm 2 years ago, and was now planning to enter seclusion to break through to the Mystic Sovereign Realm. Who knew that they would actually leave Hao Tian? Little Lan Lan, your aptitude is very good. I believe it won't be long before you can leave the boundless heaven continent. Long Ruoxue comforted Lan Ming. Yes, I will work on my cultivation, Lan Ming said with a wry smile. Please keep reading on MYB Zero's novel. After that, they chatted with Long Ruoxue and the others for a while before getting up and bidding farewell. At the same time, they gave up on letting Long Ruoxue inherit the Mystic Association headquarters. Then, Long Ruoxue and the others stayed in Carefree City for nearly half a month. During this half a month, apart from catching up with Yulin and his disciple, they also went to the Alchemist Association headquarters. However, the little old man and Zhang Un went to the Alchemist Association headquarters relatively more often. After all, the little old man was a godlike idol in the hearts of the alchemists, and he was about to leave the boundless heaven continent. Therefore, they took this opportunity to guide the alchemists of the Carefree City. After leaving Carefree City, Long Ruoxue and the others went to the Long family. This time, however, they went quietly without alerting the rest of the Long family. They chatted casually with Long Shuang for a while, but before they left, they were pestered by 2 more resentful men. Then, under Long Shuang's reluctant gaze, they left the Long family. At the same time, 2 more people were with them. After leaving Proud Cold City, Long Ruoxue and the others began to travel the boundless heaven continent. This time, unlike their previous experiences, they traveled to places they hadn't been to yet. They traveled for a year. A year has passed so quickly. Sitting on the back of the little peacock, Lu Tao could not help but say. They were on the way back to Myriad Mountain City. That's right. Long Ruoxue didn't expect them to play for so long. However, this was also a form of training for them. At least, she felt that her mental realm had improved a lot. Moreover, if it weren't for Chengwu and the others crying and begging them to go home, they would probably be happy. Be careful. Suddenly, Lung Xiaoyu, who sensed danger, warned. Haha, Lung Xiaoyu, you're still so vigilant. At this moment, a laughing man appeared in front of them. Sun Tao. Lung Ruoxue looked at the man in front of her and said lightly. This guy actually appeared again. How annoying. Haha, beauty, so you still remember me. I'm so happy, Sun Tao said proudly. Are you here to die? Lung Ruoxue didn't like to see Sun Tao's smug look and mocked faintly. Brother is here to take you away, Sun Tao said with a chuckle. In your dreams. The freak was furious when he heard Sun Tao's words. Damn it, if he wanted to take his woman away, he had to ask if he agreed. I think you're dreaming too, Lung Xiaoyu said disdainfully. Sun Tao couldn't defeat him even with a high-level divine artifact, yet he still wanted to take little Shuer away. Wasn't he daydreaming? Hee. You'll know later if I'm dreaming or not, Sun Tao said indifferently. Then, he turned his gaze to Lung Ruoxue and said, Beauty, why don't you take the initiative to leave with me? Do you think that's possible? Lung Ruoxue asked instead of answering. If you don't want them to die, go with your brother obediently. Sun Tao reminded him. I don't want them to die, but I won't go with you either. Lung Ruoxue's beautiful eyes emitted a terrifying cold light as she said coldly. Since the beauty doesn't know what's good for her, don't blame me, Sun Tao said helplessly. Even though he wanted to be protective of the fairer sex, the beauty refused to give him a chance. Sigh. He was really sad. Sun Tao, you instigated Lung Hua, right? Lung Ruoxue suddenly asked. After Qing Ju read Lung Hua's heart, she already knew part of the truth. Hee. Beauty is really smart. Yes, I ordered it. That fool still thinks he's smart. He doesn't even know that he was used by me. Sun Tao's face was filled with mockery. Why would Long Hua listen to you? Long Ruoxue asked in confusion. Of course it's because of jealousy. Haha. That fellow is actually jealous of Long Qianye's status in the Long family. Therefore, when he heard that I could deal him a blow, he immediately agreed. He's really easy to fool. He's already a mystic supremacy, but he doesn't know how to cultivate properly and only thinks about fighting for fame and fortune. It would be strange if such a person would break through. Sun Tao said disdainfully. Sun Tao, what right do you have to criticize others? Aren't you the same? Long Ruoxue said disdainfully. I'm not like that stupid pig. I'm already a god. He has no right to be compared to me. Sun Tao said proudly. God? Are all gods like you? That's too insulting. Long Ruoxue's beautiful eyes were filled with contempt. Little Shuer, stop talking nonsense with him. Let's attack together and beat him to death. Long Qianye said angrily. Ever since he heard that Long Hua was causing trouble for little Shuer because he was jealous of him, the anger in his heart had risen. However, he was even angrier that this matter was actually Sun Tao's doing. It seemed that the Long family's security should be strengthened. What a shameless kid. So many people are bullying my disciple. At this moment, a cold voice suddenly entered Long Ruoxue and the others' ears. Long Ruoxue and the others were shocked. They immediately felt a powerful pressure coming at them, suffocating them. Then, a tall and handsome man in his 30s appeared in front of them. Who are you? Long Ruoxue asked warily. Her cheapskate ancestor had just sent her a voice transmission saying that this man's strength was unfathomable and that he was not his match. He had also told her to slip away when she found an opportunity, and she had indeed felt the strength of this man in front of her. Sun Tao's master, my disciple has taken a fancy to you. Go with him. The man was very domineering. After saying that, he extended his huge palm to grab Long Ruoxue. The little peacock carried Long Ruoxue and the others and wanted to escape from the man's aura, but it clearly felt a powerful suction pulling it. No matter how hard it tried, it could not fly. This made it a little anxious. In an instant, the man raised his hand and hit the little peacock. The little peacock spat out a few mouthfuls of blood and fell to the ground. At the same time, a net of light enveloped Long Ruoxue and pulled her up. Long Ruoxue wanted to break free from the net of light, but she couldn't. And when she tried to send the freak and the others into the bracelet, she realized that she couldn't move them at all. Damn it! What was this thing that controlled even her thoughts? In the blink of an eye, she was under someone else's control. She had never felt so aggrieved in her life. This time, she also felt the gap between her and that man. However, Long Ruoxue knew that she could not be afraid, much less give up. Otherwise, the demons' lives would be in danger. Thinking of this, she hurriedly sent a voice transmission to Qingju, but Qingju did not give her any response. This made her feel that something was wrong. Shuer. The freak who was falling along with the little peacock could not help but roar angrily when he saw Shuer being pulled away from him. His eyes even released a cold light. Run quickly, don't worry about me. Staying alive is more important. Long Ruoxue shouted at the freak and the others. This man was too powerful and was not someone they could deal with. Listen to Shuer, Long Xiaoyu said calmly as she grabbed the freak's arm. She summoned her beast and caught the falling peacock. At this moment, Qingju, who had broken off contact with Long Ruoxue, was also anxious. Damn it, it was all because its strength was too low. Otherwise, how could that thing stop it? Let's go. The man looked at the freak and the others in disdain. At the same time, he grabbed Long Ruoxue and said to Sun Tao, Yes, master. Sun Tao was very respectful. He knew he couldn't disobey his master. The man raised his hand and a gap appeared in the void in front of him. Then, the master and disciple walked in with Long Ruoxue. Chapter 889. Heading to the God Realm, 1. Schwer. The freak watched as the two of them took Schwer away. Hatred surged in his heart, and crystal tears flickered in his starry eyes. Finally, they flowed down the corners of his eyes. Who said that men did not cry easily? That was just because he was not sad enough. However, seeing Schwer being abducted in front of his eyes while he was helpless and could not fight back, the freak was filled with hatred and his anger was stuck in his chest. Schwer! Schwer! Miss! Lung Qingtian and the others could not help but shout, but they could not get Long Ruoxue to respond. Lung Xiaoyu commanded his beast to land on the ground. Then, he took out a pill and fed it to the dying little peacock. He felt mixed emotions. He didn't expect Sun Tao to have such a powerful master. In front of that person, they were all vulnerable. If that person hadn't been too lazy to kill them, they probably wouldn't have survived. Suddenly, the freak spat out a mouthful of fresh blood and fainted. Yetchen. Please keep reading on MYB Zero's novel. Commander Yi. When everyone saw that the freak had fainted, they were originally worried about Long Ruoxue. They became anxious again and busied themselves. After Long Ruhan fed him a pill, they waited for a long time, but no one woke up. When everyone saw this, they couldn't help but sigh heavily. Sigh. What should we do now? Looking at the still unconscious Yi Chun, everyone could not help but feel at a loss. Long Ruoxue had always been their backbone. In their hearts, Long Ruoxue was also omnipotent. They lost her suddenly for a moment. Their hearts were in a mess. Let's go back to Myriad Mountain City first, Empty said. Schwer's kidnapping had become a fact, and her opponent was too powerful. They had to plan it carefully. Therefore, he could only save this freak first. Sigh. Last time, he almost died, but it did not make him feel so powerless. However, this time, the sense of powerlessness that was suppressed in his chest did not disappear for a long time.
Yes.
Everyone nodded. Then, they rode Long Xiaoyu's flying beast back to Myriad Mountain City. As soon as the beasts landed at the back of the mountain, Cheng Wu, who had been staying in the backyard, discovered them. Cheng Wu ran forward excitedly and shouted happily, "You're finally back." However, after saying that, he felt that something was wrong. What was wrong with them? Why didn't he see Miss Commander Yi? Filled with questions, he watched as Fengda carried Ye Chen down from the beast and sent him to the room. The others ignored him. Then, he followed them into the room and saw that Fengda had placed Yi Chen on the bed and left one of them to take care of him while the others retreated from the room. In the courtyard, now, the most important thing is to think of a good solution. Impulse alone won't solve the problem, Lung Xiaoyu said. That's right. When Miss was captured, she told us that our lives were more important. Therefore, while saving Miss, we have to protect our own safety. As long as there's life, there's hope. It's never too late for a gentleman to take revenge. This is what Miss always says. We have to remember it. Fengda said, "You're tuning in to the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.